Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai, the start of the international endurance season.
There aren't too many races like this in the whole world.
It's something that's almost indescribable unless you've been here and experienced it yourself.
Score. It's on Midweek Motorsport.
The Simcast. News, reviews.
Hello everybody, welcome to the 19th running of the 24 Hours of Dubai here at the beautiful Dubai Autodrome. We're in qualifying mode today here on Saturday. Beautiful day outside, and it's a great pleasure to welcome my co-commentator and somebody who's been calling races here since 1981.
Phil, it was 1981, the first ever race they had at Dubai. It was a circuit they mapped out by the Sheraton Hotel when Dubai was about a tenth of the size it is now. It was, we'll go into it a bit later. It was a very interesting race. And then I came here when this circuit was opened and saw the most fantastic fireworks display I've ever seen. Yeah, we've got qualifying coming up. It's a little bit complicated. We'll explain it all, but Phil, it's all part of the Middle East Trophy.
Indeed it is. We were in December in Kuwait for the fantastic 12-hour race. Remember that? 0.3 of a second separated the two cars after 12 hours. Brilliant. Last weekend, well, we were in Abu Dhabi for the 6-hour. That also was a fantastic race. Remember the GT4 race? Overtaking at the last corner, 0.3 of a second at the line. Will we have 0.3 of a second this weekend at the 24 Hours of Dubai?
Wow, very close finish here, of course, last year.
Yes.
And Herbert Motorsport just missing out by 40-odd seconds. But, of course, the big story here is that the defending team, the Belgium team that have won this for the last 2 years, the factory BMW team, are not here. There's a big reason for that. We'll talk about that later, but it's nothing to do with motor racing.
As you can see on the screen, 29 degrees in air temperature and humidity's a little high, but we've got some clouds over the top keeping the temperature down, and very nice and comfortable in the pit lane. And it won't be too long before we get underway with the first of our 3 groups of qualifying today. So we've broken all of the car categories up into individual groups. And we'll wait and see how that all plays out. We did it all together down at the Yas Marina circuit. Everybody went out there at the same time. And it is a very tricky little session to get right. Your strategy, I think, has to be very, very good, Andrew.
I think it does. And, of course, the big key to doing well in this race is having a strong driving team. Doesn't matter what stellar guy you've got in your lead role. You know, if you've got some some amateur drivers, gentlemen drivers who are not very quick, then you're in trouble.
So, not too long now before we get underway. This will be a 15-minute session.
Yeah, just explain the cars we've got in this. We've got basically 3 categories here. We've got the TCR category, which of course is huge all over the world.
Indeed.
We've only got a few of those. And then we've got a sort of version of that called TCX. It's a bit of a catch-all category. And then we're going to have GT4 cars as well. But we're going to have a couple of very interesting Ginettas in this. Colin White, long-time protagonist in this particular series. Great to see Colin back after his massive accident at Thruxton in 22. And he was showing me the holes in his legs yesterday. As the cars now go onto the track, Phil, you know this place absolutely intimately. I think if we come out of the commentary box, you can look and see your house.
Yes, you can, actually.
I detect an Aussie accent, so I don't think you're actually from Dubai, but I know you have an Aussie accent. So anyway, the first 3 cars and the 188 car, AC Motorsport is out there. Ivars Valers is at the wheel of that. And he'll start to set a times. Spanish driver, but he's always a German. He's something good Spanish. No, I think he's German, actually. Ivan.
in the 188. Okay, Ivana. Yeah.
But what I was going to say, Phil,
Yes.
this track, and I was talking to several drivers yesterday, is quite abrasive.
Yes.
It's dusty. It was built, 19, 20 years ago. It's getting a little bumpy in places now,
Indeed.
which still makes it challenging. It's not badly bumpy. Lewis Hamilton might complain about it, but I don't think any of these boys are going to.
No, a 20-year-old track, obviously, as you can see now, as they come down to turn 10 on the back end of the straight, you can see the braking bumps there, and that happens at circuits because it's all the pressure on the bitumen as all of that weight's trying to slow down, and you can see them, and we're getting that down at turn 1 and at turn 10, and you have to be a little careful under brakes. Modulating the brake pedal is one of those things that you need to do, as the 188 makes its way up there. Now, they won the TCR class last time out, and yes.
And that's a car that James Kay is going to be driving, a well-known production touring car champion from Britain, been racing for years, Yorkshireman from Harrogate, 59 years old. But I'm excited about one car in this. I'll just see if it's taken the grid yet, and that is the Century Motorsport number 429 BMW M4 GT. And there's a very interesting driver in that car, and she is called Rihanna O'Meara Hunt.
Yep.
She's 22 years old. She's from Wellington, New Zealand. And
across the ditch from me.
A couple of years ago, she won a driver search run by Harder Racing to find female drivers, and that led to her last year doing a whole season in Rattel's GT4 Championship, and she won the last 2 rounds. It's a 2-driver event. Yep. She won the last 2 rounds in that championship.
Amazing.
The Indy circuit, obviously the road circuit. She's driving with a girl called Hannah Gresham. But she's been coached by Greg Murphy. She's been coached by the famous New Zealander Rob Wilson, because operates in England. And we'll have a bit of a giggle about this. She's also had media coaching from our old mate Greg Rust.
Oh, dear.
Who's a commentator. Oh, dear. But she's got a stellar karting career.
Oh, brilliant
so
stuff.
We'll see her. There's the Toyota.
That's the 496 car. Continental Racing by TTR. Local team based here. TTR run racing cars. Basically, they run this. I think they run about 9 Radicals in the Golf Radical Cup. Right. They're running 3 or 4 Clios today, all under the guidance of Craig Thompson, the head honcho. Johnny Westbrook IV is spinning spanners on this car this weekend, so it's going to be... They were doing very, very well until the back end of that race, leading the category down at Yass until the Code 60 just caught them out and cost them some valuable time. But a car to keep an eye on. This car is 100 kilos lighter than the 2 BMWs is up against as well. And those 2 BMWs, remember, the 438 and the 429, they finished that race 0.3 of a second apart.
Wow. Well, just getting the first rolling laps in now, and just to see how this pans out. And remember, there's going to be 3 15-minute sessions. We'll go into all the detail of that. But fastest at the moment is the 138 Simpson Motorsports, a British team, second generation actually runner, and they got their Audi RS3 with Nadir Juhur.
Nadir Juhur is a local driver here, competed in the TCR series here for many, many years, knows this track really, really well. Very, very smart move from Simpson to draft him in this weekend.
Yeah, they've got an interesting guy from Birmingham in that car called Kavi Jundu, who has been racing McLaren GT4 last season, the British GT Championship. He is a mega man with cardboard boxes. He's a cardboard entrepreneur from Birmingham. How about that?
Brilliant stuff.
So he's only been racing a couple of years.
Times are starting to drop now. 209.588 by Andres Sulacosta in the Toyota Supra, and puts that up into top position.
So cars continuing on the racetrack here at the moment. Fastest is that Continental Racing Toyota Supra. I will Okay, putting the mic a bit closer. So nice shots here of this Toyota. Phil, was there another Toyota last weekend?
Yes, there was another Toyota last weekend.
Which is, I think, was the very latest iteration of this car. They race these quite a lot in the States.
Yeah.
In the Michelin Pilot Series.
But if you go underneath it, it all says BMW, funnily enough.
That's very weird. I've never heard of those two companies having many associations in motorsport and motor manufacturing. You don't know, but I've never heard that. You only think of Toyota being together with Subaru, of course.
Of course, yeah. So that is, these are very, very gorgeous looking cars, absolutely stunning looking cars. As he comes into the pits after his sprint out there, he is a 209.588. He's got at least 2 seconds over Colin White at the moment.
Yeah,
and the other BMW, the other cars are not out there at this time on the screen.
Well, there it is, Colin.
Yeah.
As we say, had that huge accident. Terrific career. He started off in short oval racing, really. I first saw him racing hot rods, I think, and doing well in that. And then he had a mega career in the ASCAR series that ran at Rockingham with those sort of NASCAR type cars. I think he won the championship 2 or 3 times, did Colin. But more recently, a man from Glastonbury, that's where he comes from, a man from Glastonbury who runs a car deconstruction.
Oh,
and he's going in, Colin. It's having a bit of a wobble there.
Well, the guys were telling me yesterday the track feels really greasy this weekend, so that looked more than maybe he's got a deflating tyre, because that was a big lose.
He called it anyway. That was good. So so Colin with this long career, and great to see him out there. I mean, there were a lot of suggestions after he had the big Thruxton accident 2 years ago that he'd never race again.
Okay. Let's have a look at this again. This is coming up the hill out of this bowl, out of 14. Then he just gets too wide out into, he loses it in the middle of the corner, hits the curve, but very well controlled. A little tap on the brakes there, just a safety tap. As Colin, we had a good chat with him yesterday down in the pits. And great. They had a problem down there with one of their cars, a gear shift selector issue that caused them some issues down at Yass last weekend.
Ginetta's owned by Lawrence Tomlinson, of course, of the LNT group up in Leeds. As we got an overtaking manoeuvre here, going past the Italian Lotus Elise.
The Porsche 714 Cayman.
Yeah.
And that is in the hands of, that's the SRS Team Sorg Rennsport car.
Yeah.
And first outing this weekend.
Yeah, German-based operation. Well, I was just going on, Phil, to say that also in another class is a sort of effectively factory Ginetta.
Yep.
With an upgrade from this Cup car, so the power upgrades and stuff. They've got a stupendous stonker of an engine in that car. Actually, they're on to their second now. But and Lawrence Tomlinson, the boss of LTN, who's been a class winner at Le Mans in the past in the Paynors, he will be driving that together with his son. His son, who is certainly making his way in racing, Freddie, in MP3.
And it's a stonking sounding car.
Yeah,
we saw it first up in Kuwait and round 1 of the Middle East Trophy. What a fantastic debut that was for it. And we went and had to talk to him about that engine. It's a Ford block, but everything above it's Ginetta. And it really is a Ginetta, literally a Ginetta engine in that car.
I don't think they've ever been into the engine business before, Ginetta. I mean, but
no.
well, we'll see how they go. I know they have had a few problems here, but they are on the second engine. Well, Colin's car flashing 002 and even a little bit of his name there. I think that's a bit of an innovation.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
And it flashes between the number and the driver name.
Yeah. Creventic is just so good at this sort of stuff.
They've set the boundary. They've set the mark in a lot of areas. You know, code 60. That was the big one. You know, that then migrated to many series in different evolutions around the planet.
Yeah, but also things like their graphics are terrific. They're better for me. They're better than the WEC. You know, with the way they do their graphics and everything like that. They've got a fantastic. I was talking to Darren Turner last night. He said, "Have you seen their app? This new app they've got on the phone. Driver's got everything." He said, "Racing in WEC, lots of big series. Never seen anything as good as that, and it's really helpful." So, you know, they are innovative people, all from Holland, of course.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
4 minutes to go in this session.
Oh, I think we might be hearing Diana Binks down there. Di, have you got something for us?
I haven't, Andrew. I just wanted to say good afternoon to everyone and welcome to a very glorious Dubai. We're here in the pit lane. Myself and Peter Snowden will be bringing you all the news when we can down here, but it's pretty quiet at the moment, as you can imagine, guys. As the cars, you know, the select cars are out there on track. I can hear you talking about them, and we've only got a few minutes left of this first part of qualifying, but there's no dramas down here so far. A little bit of cloud cover's just come over, which is a welcome relief. You don't realise how hot it is down here, but we'll be just getting up to speed very shortly. But people are taking it, you know, quite easy. They know the track out there needs to evolve quite a bit. It's still quite dirty and quite greasy, as you mentioned earlier. So, and it's a long old way to go.
It is dirty.
Isn't it?
It's more dusty than greasy. Maybe you trot down to Colin White's outfit. Colin's in the car at the moment. When he gets out, it's so nice to see him race again after that huge accident. We had great concerns for him. So nice to see how Colin's getting on. He was still playing about with his driver lineup in the second car about 10 minutes ago, as far as we can work out. But it's still the 496 car, Continental Racing, the Toyota, which is fastest so far. But remember, we've got 2 more of these 15-minute sessions to go before we set the pole, and I think Phil, we're pretty sure, I mean, this helps set the pole, but we're going to not know until the third of the 3 sessions.
That's the mystery. That is the mystery of this form of qualifying, and I think it's a brilliant way to do it. It's set another level, obviously. Creventic again setting another level, and we'll talk to you in a little while about how this is all going to play out in between the sessions.
In the pits, the car that's fastest thus far is down in the pits now. The other BMW just coming in, I think that was the Century car. David Holloway has been at the wheel of that car.
Yeah, we've just got Ivor Vallas in the 188 out on track, and Gero Bucknott in the 227, Mark Griffiths and Fabian Defoe out there at the moment with just over a minute and a half to go. So if you got out of pit lane now, you wouldn't get around in a lap because we're doing 2:09 lap times. Yeah. So everybody is done what they have needed to do, and it's just going to, it's now about to get very, very interesting, because all the drivers will be reporting back track conditions. We've had a lot of running today. We've got the Clio Cup, Middle East Clio Cup Championship running here as well, and we had an hour and a half of free practice this morning, plus about 3 days they've been on this circuit with private practices and etc. So there's a lot of rubber down on the circuit. But as the day changes, the track changes here, and the grip levels go up and down as we follow the car through the turn 13 into the hard braking zone of turn 14, the bowl. Now this is behind the pit complex. This is the 227 out there at the moment. I have 2 drivers listed for that. 227 and 277. Sorry, the 227 will be get another lap in, and before that he sees the checkered flag.
And we're just seeing all the wonderful panels there capturing the energy of the sun. Making this a greener circuit, of course.
Lots of work has been going in around this circuit since probably post-COVID, when it really started to kick off. A lot of international motorsports here, this being the major one in Dubai for motorsport, and has been. And this is the 19th running of it.
Yeah. It's a very compact circuit, this, isn't it?
Yes.
It's 5.39 miles, but we're sitting in the commentary box here, and we can see the whole thing pretty well.
Indeed.
Designed by my friend Clive Bowen from Apex.
Apex, yeah.
Apex, which was part of the West Surrey racing outfit in the early days, you know. That's how it started, and I think Clive worked there with Dick Bennett. But as I say, I came to the opening of this circuit and I had a lap, and you'll be jealous because I was driven around by the late, great Peter Brock.
Yes.
What a great character
Jealousy.
Peter was. I don't, did you in Australia get a chance to work with Peter at all?
Yes, I did indeed.
Yeah,
It was actually after his touring car in his rallying days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when
Well, it, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Tragic
crash in Western Australia. But I did have the pleasure to interview him quite a few times, and a magnificent man. The checkered flag is out to end our first part of this qualifying session. 3 parts of this qualifying session. We'll tell you about it shortly. It is the 496 leading the way from Continental Racing in the Toyota Supra GR GT4, and then those BMWs continue on to have their battle. 209.588 was the best out there for Andrei Solokostev. Fabian Defuhr in the AGMCB Racing team by Simpson in 2nd position. David Holloway in the Century Motorsport BMW M4 GT4 in 3rd. Then we go into the TCE category. First case is the TCX, the Giannetta G55 CWS Engineering, Colin White at the wheel. Nadir Sahur in the Simpson Motorsport Audi RS3 LMS DSG. And then it's Ivor Valars in the AC Motorsport RS3 Audi.
It's funny, they're both the same car, I think.
Well,
it's something to do with the gearbox, isn't it?
There's something different with the gearbox, and there is also a balance of performance change with that. I'll actually dig that one out. There is a BOP difference for those 2 cars. Then we have the Porsche 718 Cayman GT, the SRS team Sorg Rennsport, Geo Bucknet behind the wheel of that. Then at 277, Mark Griffith in the 2nd of the CWS Engineering Giannetta G55s, and in 9th position, Maurizio Copetti in the stunning looking Lotus PB Racing. That's the Lotus Elise Cup PBR, with a best time of 2:21.295 as the BMW makes its way back into the pits.
I would suggest they've got some issues with that Elise. I think so there's a nice look at the cars down the pit lane. This pit lane, it's not a massive pit lane, is it? I think it's about 300 odd metres long, I think.
There's 12 3-garage pit. Well, there's three garage in each of the pits. There's 12 actual individual areas down there. We've had 110 cars in there. When we did the 10th anniversary.
Yeah. Yes, I think the layout is quite a bit like the Silverstone pits,
yes,
actually.
the new one, the new Silverstone, yes, because they have to go up slightly to come out.
Yeah.
Just getting ready now.
We were having a debate as to how to pronounce his surname, and I got it completely wrong. So, Andre, enlighten me.
Yeah, sorry?
Your surname, how we pronounce it?
Yeah, sure. Solokovtsov. Basically, it's really complicated last name. Even native speakers cannot pronounce it good, so it's okay, no worries.
So you're quite happy if we just refer to you as Andre?
Yeah. So, if you talk about my first first quali, it was good. I first time tried the new tire, and the balance of the car was amazing, so I really appreciate all the team efforts who done really fantastic job. So I was really a little bit scared in the beginning because I don't try it on the new tires, but guys said no worry, it will be good car. I trusted them, and this bet was right.
And what were the conditions like? What was the track like? Obviously, it's still, quite green at the moment.
No, I think it's really nice because there was not a lot of cars now, and I think previous session make track really good. So I think it's really optimal for the fast times, and I do only 1 lap. That was enough to get provisional pole.
So what have you been discussing with your teammates?
We're discussing that I need to save the tire, that's why they do only 1 lap, and then it's all on the guys. I really trust the guys, they all are fast, so let's see.
How exciting was it, that lap, when you knew? Did you know it was a quick one?
No, I never nervous, I just was excited. That's the right words, like eyes like this. I'm finally on the new tires, that's great. So it was more excitement than nerves.
Brilliant. Andre, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Hey, Phil, what a character he is. Nice smiley man.
Yeah. Okay, this is how qualifying works here. 3 sessions, 15 minutes each. Each driver, each session must be with a different driver. Driver change during the session is not allowed. Q1 for those who are running, if you've got an AM driver in your team, they've got to do Q1.
Yeah.
Refueling is not allowed. You have to put your full fuel load in for 3 sessions before the fueling station closed at the beginning of that. Tyre changes are not allowed during the 3 sessions, and you're not even allowed to take the tyre off the rim.
Aha. Two of those last 2 cancel each other out. The car's getting lighter because the fuel is burning off, but you've got presumably some tyre wear. But these Hankook tyres, in some circuits, will do two sessions. They'll do 2 hourly sessions, but maybe not here. Certainly, GT3 people are telling me they're probably going to have to change the tyres every time they make a pit stop.
Yeah, it's going to be 24 sprints for them, isn't it? Literally. Andrei Solokusev did a very good job there. He did very few laps in that car. As Diane said, isn't he a great character? Locally based team here, TTR. So they're going to put that together. We'll be able to give you the average times. The timing system has been is brilliant, and we get to see how they're progressing up as they're doing their specific times. And we've got Vasily Vladikin at the wheel of the current leader in the category.
Yeah, so 2 Russians in this car. So Russians racing out here, and we'll be seeing a bit later one of the best-known Russians in motor racing. Of course, Petrov, Vitaly Petrov is making his comeback to racing.
Wow.
Having raced in a lot of Formula 1 events at Renault and other teams. Hopefully we'll be able to speak to him later, but it's great to see him. And Sergei Sertikin, who had a season in Williams, remember, 10 years or so back, he's also making his comeback. So that will be very interesting to see a little later 2 of the best Russian racing drivers in the business. So, as you say, we've got the aggregate time, so we'll see the average coming up. It's already on the screen in front of us. A terrific way of doing it. Now, WEC, of course, using a similar system, putting 2 drivers in during their qualifying. But I'm not sure, I haven't done a WEC race for a little while, whether they've got the aggregate right up there in front of them. Certainly they didn't used to have.
No, it's an absolutely brilliant system. It helps the teams, obviously, in the garage as well, because their engineers can see exactly what we are seeing, and it does work incredibly well to balanced performance. Let's head down to the pits now, and we have Peter Snowden down there with Colin White. Hello, Snowy.
Very well, thank you, Phil and Andrew. Colin, you've got a young hotshot, Owen Hizzy, out in the car now, as in 20 years old. They start them young these days. But before we get, you had a little bit of showboating going on there in your session.
Yeah, I'm the tyre warmer today, so I had to warm the tyres up, and I was giving it some in 1.5 seconds up, and caught the curb a little bit, which made it a good bit loose. So used some tactics, and still didn't lose too much time enough, but it was good fun.
I see that CWS are keeping up their tradition and trying to all the mechanics trying to distract you as much as possible while you're doing a live interview. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, they just want to get on TV. That's what it is, really.
Virtue signalling, there you go. So tell us about young Owen Hizzy. You've had him in the car at last weekend at Abu Dhabi, and he's over here now with you. So how's he performing?
Doing really, really well. This is his first time with endurance racing, and he's respecting the car and everything, making sure it lasts, and which is a good job. And he's quick as well, so it makes us all keep in tune.
Yeah, I followed him in a junior saloon car. Actually, coached him a little bit there, and he obviously has some potential, doesn't he?
That's right, yes. A lot of people are sort of having him for doing driver training, and the potential for him in a race car is got a lot of years ahead of him in the GT3s, I would have thought.
Just don't let him get too big. You won't be paying next.
Yeah, I'll have to be his go-between.
You'll become his manager, won't you? Yeah, move on to management.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, really, yeah. So it's nice to see the youngsters out, and we've got a few new people here from England, and one from Australia as well. So a nice lot of people to train and teach them what endurance racing is all about.
Thank you, Colin. We'll obviously talk to you a lot more. We'll let this session with young Owen Hizzy in the car finish, and that's our second driver in this CWS Ginetta.
Started in Citroen Saxos. That's what Peter was mentioning in his touring car days, or little mini touring cars anyway, and has been racing Ginettas since then. Had a win in the G40 in the junior series, and last year, I think a couple of years ago, certainly racing in a GT56, so had a victory in that back in Britain. So interested to see what sort of times Owen puts in.
Well, he's not too far off the mark at the moment.
He's not, no.
His personal best at 10.2.837, no, 3.97. That's actually pretty quick. He's not too far off he's quite motivated out there at the moment. That's a good lap time.
Yeah. Well, Colin's time was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I say he's got all that experience, Colin, a lot of success in all kinds of cars, as we've mentioned in the past. But still at the top is, well, now, no, actually it was changed, isn't it? We've got the AGMC Racing. That's a local team as well, isn't it?
Yeah, AGMC is the mini BMW dealer right behind the circuit here.
All right.
AGMC, so they've got a big thing. And all the course cars here, you'll notice that they're all BMWs as well. So they heavily support the Dubai Autodrome.
So on the steering wheel right now is Ivan Krapitsev.
Yep.
And has he raced in the little Renault Clios earlier? I mean, the last season. I'm not sure of his history, but he's just put in quick lap to 10.237, fastest in this session anyway.
Yeah, we're seeing some purple microsectors now starting to come up as we've got around about 8 minutes to go in this second 15-minute session for the TCE and GT4 category cars.
Yeah, well, and Hissy is a man who's turning it most purple, and I think he might be on a fast lap now. I think he might be on a lap could put that to the top of the pile, to be honest.
Remember, these are totally different types of cars, the GT4 and the TCE. The TCE category contains TCR and TCX.
Look, we got the two Genesis running together. CWS Collins Company, car dismantlers, I think they like to be called.
Indeed.
We used to call them breakers yards in the old days.
No, they very pretty car. I drove earlier. I drove the G20 at Knockhill. Lovely little car. I was going to bring it out here for my track day car, but ended up going with a Radical instead. Yeah,
originally from Essex. This is very much a Yorkshire company now. Originally from Essex and Whittam, a place called Whittam, and the Walcott brothers. One who was the sort of businessman, one was the designer, Trevor, and then one was the engineer.
Yep.
And they made a very good group, and they did some brilliant cars. The G4 was an absolutely brilliant car, and one of my favourite Genesis all time was the G12, and a mate of mine had a racing version with a BRM Formula 2 engine in, a 1 litre Formula 2 engine, and I went in that car on the road. A guy called Willie Green became a very successful, raced in Formula 5000, and then subsequently was very successful racing in historics. And yeah, that was a day to remember. That was, I went in the G10 with the BRM engine. Oof. I went in a GT40. He drove me, and then we went in a D-type. All over the other two cars owned by Anthony Bamford. That was a day. That was a day. But the G10 or G12 with the BRM 1 litre engine, and back then people didn't have 6-speed boxes, but this did. And I remember we were somewhere up in the Derbyshire Peak District, and he came down to this hairpin, and he went down all 6 gears down into first.
We've got
memories.
We've got some track limits infringements now.
Yes.
We will have laps disallowed around here, and if you do it at turn 16, the final turn, coming onto the start-finish track, you will lose that lap and the next one as well.
Really?
So you've got to be careful. You've only got 15 minutes, and you also only have a set amount of fuel, and you want to keep your tyres maybe for your gun driver. So the 429 has had a lap disallowed, and also the 227 has had a lap disallowed.
Right.
Okay, so now it's starting to get serious. The drivers are pushing a little bit more, and all of a sudden you have put a fuel in for maybe to do an out lap, 2 hot laps and an in lap. All of a sudden, your first hot lap isn't good enough. You lose track limits on your second hot lap. Then you're going to have to start to compromise what you're going to do in your third session, because you're actually going to have you've got to go into that session with less fuel on board. So very interesting there. We see the Audi, a very pretty car, 3-wheeling it, as they tend to do around this circuit, coming out of turn 9, turning right up into turn 10 to 11, and another track limit infringement for the 429. That's a second track limit infringement for the 429. They cannot afford to keep this happening. That's Nicholas Halstead in that is just not happening. That's the Century Motorsport BMW GT4 G82. He's got a time in. There is a time on the Quali 1, but there's no time on Quali 2 at the moment because both laps have been disallowed. And
now he's got one now.
Now he's got one now. Yeah. So that our timing with the penalties is slightly delayed. But Ivan Krapastev has come into the pit, so I think that will do for them. That's 4 to go, so you've only got time to get out and get one lap in, as has Stefano Diast has come into the pits as well in the Pretty Little Lotus, currently sitting down in 6th position overall, 4th in the TCX category.
Yeah, we'll be talking to Julian Simpson-Smith, who runs Simpson Motorsport. Son of an old mate of mine, actually, Robin Smith. Used to race in Formula 5000 years and years ago. And Julian worked in Formula 3000 as a mechanic and worked for Multimatic.
Yeah.
And we've been in the business 25 years now. Robin was long retired, but he was a very good racing driver, Robin Smith.
As the clock ticks down, they've probably only got time for the lap they're on and one more lap. As I think the Vladikin has also. That's it for them. They've that's what they can do. But yeah, that.
Well, let's hear from them. Ah, that's typical. Like a greyhound in a
exactly.
Trap. Yeah.
Great line. Just, we've got 24 hours of this tomorrow. We don't need to do another 5 minutes now.
Exactly. Thanks, Zoe. Yep. There's leading the way at the moment. Their average time between Q1 and Q2, they've still got 2:18 to go, leads the way with a 2:09.926. Only 3/100ths of a second quicker than the 2:78. So that's going to get very interesting.
Phil, it's great to watch the race action here, and super cameraman here, but we've got a guy in the pits called Seb down there. Great tall German guy. I work with him a lot. He is absolutely the best guy I've ever worked with in the pits. I've worked with lots of Americans when I was working for ESPN and later for Fox Sport. A lot of guys in Britain from Sky Sports, but Seb, he's absolutely top. He's got wonderful shots. But the other thing, he also understands what's going on in the pits and what's happening in the race. And I really like that. That's Seb's plug for the weekend.
It is indeed. And he's got a long weekend in front of him.
And Owen Hissey just gone faster now. That car's gone second.
That Giannetta's still sliding all over the place. This whole lap has just been, it looked like a drift car for the last 3 corners.
So, yeah, Owen's last lap was a 2:09.325. And now he's gone faster.
Oh, he has gone a lot faster.
Yeah, yeah.
And this will be his last lap as well, because the clock is now just on 1 minute. So he's got one more lap to do. There is a 5-minute break between the sessions.
They're not showing a Quali 2 time for that Nicholas Halstead Century Motorsport car for some reason.
Yes, because he had all his laps deleted.
Every lap has been deleted.
Yes.
You can't keep it. Well, if there was walls all around this track, he would, wouldn't he?
Exactly, exactly. But yes, track limits, we could talk about that for years.
We could.
And still not come up with a solution, because when you put a driver in a car with a helmet on, a lot of reason of those sort of things, he wants to straight line a corner as much as possible. And yeah, I had a very good chat last weekend with Eduardo Freitas.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed his interpretation during his Formula 1 tenure about how strict he was there. And nobody liked it. Lewis Hamilton hated him. But he said, well, if I put you don't do track limits in Monaco. You don't go into the swimming pool, do you? If you want to straight line the swimming pool chicane. It's very, very, very true.
Well, in the old days at Alton Park, Oh, no, oh, better example. Monaco, you went into the harbour.
You were
the famous Aussie driver, of course, Paul Hawkins,
yes.
went in the harbour, swam strongly to the shore from there.
Yeah, back in those days, no seatbelts were required,
No
I don't believe.
seatbelts, no. That's
Checkered
correct.
flag is out for the second of the 3 15-minute sessions as the Giannetta continues to do drift mode. There must be a drift mode switch in that car that Colin and the team can find and turn off as they're making their way back into the pits, but it's Owen Hizzy on top in the 278 with the fastest lap of the combined session so far, a 209.202.
But Phil, it's very, very close. You're talking about fraction in seconds. So you've got 0.05 of a second separating them. That's all. And so it's all down to the third driver now.
What I'm seeing here is that we've got a TCR car, a TCX car in front of 3 GT4 cars.
Yeah.
Right, and that's really, really unusual.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not. They don't have the performance. But they are a huge amount lighter.
Yes, true. Different concept entirely.
Yeah, most definitely.
And most effectively based on road cars, although Gillette don't make so many road cars these days, or very, very few. But
if they made one with that V8 engine, I may be a customer for that.
Yeah, really.
Seriously, yes.
Yeah. So this is an interesting, as I said earlier, about the mix of drivers.
Yeah.
Because you might have your ace, but if you, over 24 hours, if you've got a gentleman driver who's can be 7, 8, 9 seconds slower than your ace, you ain't ever going to do any good, really.
No.
So, and the problem is for the teams is funding all this, Phil, of course.
Of course,
you've got to take the gentleman driver. So you've got to try and find a gentleman driver who's fast with the checkbook, but also fast on the track. And there's Colin White. Nice shot of him just talking to Owen. And I'm sure he'll be pleased with his performance. Hizzy, I hope he doesn't have a hizzy fit. Had to get that one in. So Owen Hizzy has put that car, and now we've got this 5-minute break, and then we've got another 15 minutes where these classes will be decided.
Now, the 429 did finish a lap, and he finished up in 4th position. So Nicholas Halstead has redeemed himself because he had 3 laps out of that session disallowed, and he did move himself up behind the 496.
Yeah.
So it's...
Got that out of the way now. We promise no more of that this weekend, I promise you. But a great run there. You'd only done 5 laps around here before you got into that session there, and you've put that car above some of the GT4 cars. You must feel pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I am. The first thing first was just getting the car into a good rhythm, getting myself in, getting my eye in, and then it was just literally just starting, just pushing bits and places everywhere around the circuit. We're struggling quite a bit with our rear end at the moment, of quite a bit of oversteer, but yeah, all it is was just keep on pushing, apart from I lost a little bit of time in the final corner on the last lap, but yeah, I'm over the moon to be mixing it in with the GT4 boys.
Are you doing a lot of talking with your hands there? I love all the imaginary steering wheel in the pit lane there. You say you lost a bit at the end there. You were saying to Colin, what's the issue?
Yeah, I just got a bit of mid-corner oversteer when just getting on the power, and then yeah, just had to correct it, and that just lost a little bit of momentum onto the straight. So apart from that, that would have been near enough a really good clean lap.
It's a good start for qualifying, isn't it?
Oh yes, very good start. Colin did a fantastic job with the first part, and he got a good time in. So then all what I did is just take the baton and then try and do the best job I can, like Colin did.
And taking away any oversteer issues, but otherwise the car manages its tyres quite well, doesn't it? You've found out in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, we did. We managed to survive the whole of Abu Dhabi on 1 set of tyres.
That's because Colin wouldn't buy a second set. That's all that was, mate.
Well, yeah, you can talk to him yourself about that. And
that's your job.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he didn't mind me. I still did the best job I can, and I brought the home result then, and hopefully we can do that this weekend.
Looking forward to a great weekend. Owen Hizzy, thank you very much.
We're talking about Nicholas. Go on, Phil, you want to dive in?
No, I just wanted to say that the 429, they cancelled 2 of those infringements of track limits. They had a look at them on the replay, and the stewards here doing a fantastic job, gave the laps back.
I was just going to tell you a little bit more about Nicholas Halstead.
Yes, please.
Because I suspect he's got quite a few cars, because he was a founder of a number of companies, including one called Tweet Me, which he sold to Twitter in 2010. I didn't suggest he didn't sell it for peanuts, but I had his name in the back of my head. He was racing last season at the Asian Le Mans Series, but he's also racing in the British Touring Car Championship and for Accelerate team in 21. I think he actually raced last season for Accelerate. So he's a 51-year-old entrepreneur from Kent, and he'll be pleased that he wasn't off the track as much as we thought he was.
There you can see a view from our drone this weekend.
Yeah, look at that drone shot, terrific.
Absolutely stunning. We're sitting up in the very top of that grandstand.
Yeah, right at the far end on the left there, yeah.
So next session will start at 15:22 and just a couple of minutes away for the third 15-minute session. Cars already lining up down there.
Just see them resetting the names in the top right-hand corners of the windscreen. So
if you are following along in the live timing, you'll see that Vasily Vladikin has activated the fuel thing. It's actually a sensor on the road. He's actually sitting in pit lane because they're not allowed to refuel. But on the timing, it says he's in fuel, but he's actually not. He's just right next to that sensor that triggers them going into the fuel station at the end of pit lane.
Well spotted.
I didn't want them to get a penalty for fueling. That's the last thing they need.
We've got listeners, viewers with us, Phil, who are maybe not used to Creventic.
Yep.
And they've seen our pits reporters there not wearing race suits with all this fuel around. Just explain that, because the fuel is not in the pits.
Exactly. The fuel is in Yas. It was at the beginning of pit lane, and at the end of it's here at the end of pit lane. Now, Creventic bring their own pumps, and they're really, really special. Every car has a fuel tag, and it has on that tag has the maximum fuel for their BOP, and also their maximum fill under code 60, and we'll get into that when we do the race prep tomorrow. But it's a tag situation of how it works, and it's very, very clever. So that's why it's all done there. It's pump nozzle fueling, just like you do in your normal car, and you pull up there and they put the pump in the thing. It's not dry brake system like we see with the ones that are based in the fuel lane, like some of the pure GT3 racing. So it is a completely different concept. We do it down at the end of the pit lane. The guys who come out to refuel the car are in full fireproof overalls as per the regulations, and the driver can open the door of the car. It's a very different scenario, but it works exceptionally well. But what you've got to do is think about, okay, I'm not in control of when I can get a Bowser, because there's a number of Bowsers down there, and if you get a code 60 or whatever, or you're with your, say, GT3 group, and you all know around the 60-minute mark you're going to need your next tank of fuel, there's a lot. We've got 23 GT3 cars here this weekend. They're not all going to fit into the fueling. So we will see some drivers, like they did at Yas, 30-minute first stint, bang, into the pits. Remember, they can fill the tank to full, okay, brim full to start the race. Every fill after that is to BOP level.
Yeah. Yes, and that's John. Just to level things out, BOP being balance of performance, because just levels things out.
I've got a folder to talk about that tomorrow.
Well, exactly.
Exactly. But they do it so well because their BOP is done on driver time, car weights, and fuel limits rather than expensive modifications to the vehicle. Everybody out there, we've got Daniel Morris out there in the CWS 278. Cameron McLeod in the AGCMC racing team by Simpson Motorsport in the BMW M4. Mikhail Laboda in the Continental Racing by TTR. Rihanna Miro Hunter, and you heard Andrew chat about her earlier on in the Century Motorsport BMW GT4. Paul Sledges in the AC Motorsport Audi RS3 LMS TCR. Christian Broberg in the CWS Engineering G55 277, that one. Ivor Stanchion, the Simpson Motorsport Audi RS3. Kristen Kombach in the 718 Cayman for SRS Team Sorg Rennsport, and Stefano Moretti in the Lotus PB Racing Lotus Elise Cup. They have got around about 12 minutes to go, and we will see the lap times start to flow in.
Yeah, I think Christian Broberg probably hasn't driven that car before. He was added to the entry list just yesterday. I'm fascinated to see how quick Rihanna O'Meara Hunt is, because Ian James, who's the boss of Heart of Racing, has got very good words for her. We're very impressed. And she's still karting in New Zealand as well.
I think so.
Yeah. So anyway, that Janetta at the top of the pile at the moment.
Yep.
Next 15 minutes will decide on the pole for this group of 3 different categories, effectively.
Yep, there's 10 minutes 40 to go. So outlaps now happening for a couple of the cars. Remember, they've already done a lot of their fuel running, so they've got to be very careful on this one. They can't run out of fuel out there because it's not very polite. They've got to get to the end. The tyres, well, they've already had, some of them have had 30 minutes of running, some have had slightly less because people have only been doing 10-minute stints and stuff like that. So been very, very careful on the way that they're managing their tyres at the moment to just try and get everything sorted so that these sessions they can get the best out of their tyres without traffic. I mean, the other issue we're going to have, possibly not in this sector, but when we have 23 GT3 cars out there, is yellow flags. Code 60s, you know, all of that sort of stuff. If you're in the middle of a lap and you get a yellow flag, that's it, gone. And you may not have the tyres or the fuel to go again. And so we've seen cars sit down in pit lane and we're going, they should be going out. They're ready to go. They've got no fuel left. They've done all their fuel.
Just a quick word, Hankook, the Korean company, who base their main racing operations out of Germany, in fact, done a terrific job in this series and other series like DTM as well. A great product, very high consistency rate on the production of these racing tyres. And couldn't say more about Hankook. And they've got some 50, we've got a lot of people here.
Yes, indeed.
50, I believe there's 50 engineers, tyre fitters and so on site.
And they do a fantastic job. Big tent in the back of the paddock, as always, for Hankook. We're running in some of the GT3 category and the 992 category, we're running the new innovation of the tyres this weekend. We started that in Kuwait last year for the 23-24 season here in the Middle East. And the drivers talking to Charles Putnam from CP Racing, they were really happy with how Hankook have evolved these tyres for endurance racing. They are the experts in it. Yeah. So I think Rihanna has just gone purple in section 3. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it'll be quite a different sort of car for her to drive, having raced obviously the Aston Martin in the States all last year. In a very competitive series run by SRO, of course, there.
You know, it's probably not as bad as going to, say, a front-wheel drive TCR car, having a rear-wheel drive car. Sort of, you have your weight dynamics and power dynamics working all the same with acceleration and braking. So it obviously can work very, very well. But obviously not the power of the Aston Martin. So corner momentum is much more. As the Continental Racing goes to the top. Mikhail Laboda in the Continental Racing by TTR, local to base team here in the UAE.
I think
but it's Cameron McLeod's just taken it away from him.
I think we're going to have a terrific battle for this pole position now. It's very, very close. We've got 3 or not 4 really competitive cars.
2/100ths of a second separating them at the moment for the pole position in the GT4 class. So that's really, really going to be stonking. Well, if they all finish the race, they're all going to be on the podium. So that's the most important thing. They're going to end up on the podium as more quick lap times coming in at the moment. And now Mikhail Laboda does hit the fastest first sector, 43.403. He pulled a 10th on the Cameron McLeod's last first sector as Daniel Morris in the CWS Engineering G55 makes his way into the pits. That's a very, very quick first sector by Mikhail Laboda, and just waiting for the others to come through.
Phil, Cameron McLeod's a fellow countryman of yours.
Yes, he is indeed.
Yeah, I think he'd been still a youngster, but karting at the age of 15.
Yeah. Mr. McLeod, there's a few here this weekend.
Yeah.
And happy Australia Day to them.
Oh, right.
It is Australia Day today.
Yeah.
So, Daniel Morris came into the pits at the moment. Oh, 51.047 for Sector 2 for Mikhail Laboda in the 4.96. Watching him on screen at the moment as he makes his way through turn 14. Now up the hill to turn 15. 2 corners to go. Now the downhill run into 16. Park in a hotel that overlooks turn 16. A lot of people who are racing this weekend are staying there. It's not going to be good to get some rest in the 24-hour because it's noisy all the way through. He's might have been okay. It was over the curb at track limits at a 2:10.062 for Mikhail Laboda, and that puts it to the top. Wow, that is a quick lap, and that is still just 2/100th of a second. Cameron McLeod is just letting the tyres cool down at the moment. We have 5:50 to go.
Yeah, Laboda's been racing in the GT4 European Series in the Pro-Am, and so I believe he's been racing one of these cars. And yes, go ahead, Diana.
Fantastic. The Colin White car, the 278, is actually being wheeled back into the garage at the moment. They've got a clutch issue. So they're putting that car into the garage, although they're quite happy. They've done the necessary laps they needed to do. So they're taking that in to have a bit more of an investigation into it now. But just to let you know, I think there's only, 4 minutes left to go?
Yeah, 5 minutes to go, and they're still currently leading the TCX category.
Yeah, that won't go back out, by the way.
And they have that lead by or over a second and a half, so they should hang on to that. Thanks, Di.
Yeah, looking into the garage there. And the boys from Glastonbury will go to work.
Well, they're used to now loud noises, aren't they? That's where the festival is, isn't it, in Glastonbury?
I don't know how far Colin's workshops are from the actual fields. I've never been to the Glastonbury Festival. I think I'm probably getting a bit old for it now.
Really? No, you're never too old for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, Cat Stevens, he's got a new name now, but Cat Stevens
Yusuf
played there. Yes. Well, actually, he's using Cat Stevens as well again now, but he played there last year. The year before, so it's terrific. I love Cat Stevens. But anyway, I'm sure there's a big motor race going on the same weekend. So
possibly
the Toyota's a bit of a surprise, I think, to see this at the top of the pile.
Well, I was down there talking with Craig Thompson and Johnny Westbrook yesterday, and they said, we feel slow. The drivers aren't happy, and unhappy drivers are never good to have alongside. But they've unlocked something overnight. They've gone out, they've done something to that car, because that has really worked. There's just one car in the pits at the moment. Everybody else on laps. Green lap, that one for Christian Broberg in the CWS Engineering Gianetta. 2:12.261, his best lap. Currently sitting second in TCX. And fastest Sector 2 for Cameron McLeod in the 4.38 as well. Just doing that. Daniel Morris, and so the Paul comes into the pit. Paul Sejas into the pits from AC Motorsport, and in the Audi RS3 LMS TCR, currently leading the TCR category with an average time of 2:12.738. As the clock continues to count down, as this session has produced some very quick laps.
Yeah, but not from the Lotus. From Lotus PB Racing, still quite a bit slower than everybody else. Must have an issue, I think, there with that car. But what's the difference now? 2/100th of a second.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's not very much. When you're talking about
just a mouse sniff.
Exactly, but I think it's more the case of when you look at it's a 24-hour race, so a couple of positions out there, but it's great for your sponsors. It's great for all of that. It's
good for morale,
and great for team morale. Yeah, you want your team on the pit wall yelling at you when you're doing these laps, and the laps continue to count down. Around about 1.5 minutes to go. Yeah. Well, 53 seconds to go on the clock. I'm following two different clocks at the moment. Not sure which one is correct.
Do you think the track's gone a little bit slower since the start? Or
yeah, the sun's come out. I think it's got greasy. I think it tends to do that here because once it's under the sun, the oil doesn't rise to the surface, and we notice that here. And then the guys have a really grippy track for that 12 hours of night time. Because it cools down nicely, we get more rubber down it, obviously, with around 55 cars running around at race pace. So yeah, it's very. It does change, and we saw that last weekend at Yas as well, and we do see it in Kuwait as Mikhail Laboda brings the 496 Toyota Supra into the pit with 9 1,000 separating first and second at the moment. Unbelievable stuff. As with 48 seconds to go, has Cameron McLeod got anything else in his bucket of tricks? He's in sector 1 at the moment in the 438, just coming through turn 8 and 9. As I'm just looking at where he is on his sector times, and his first sector isn't quite as good. He's into sector 2 now. It's not purple so far. I think the tyres have said enough that he's not going to get any more out of that. Will this pole position go to Continental Racing by TTR or AGMC Racing by Simpson Motorsport? I don't know, but at the moment, the sector's times are telling me that Continental Racing by TTR could have the GT4 pole here at the 24 Hours Dubai, powered by Hankook. As we go on to the checkered flag is out, and let's have a look. Cameron McLeod in sector 2. He's done his personal best in sector 2, but he's not doing purple sectors. He needs, it's 9 1,000ths of a second, folks, as he makes his way down into the bowl. That's turn 14 behind the pit complex.
Another great drone shot, yeah.
There, the Apex Garden there. Beautiful. We had a lovely dinner there last night. Thank you to Creventic for the welcome dinner, but it's open to the public this weekend.
And some great fire jugglers. I got some nice pictures of them, yeah. So, yeah, Cameron there comes to the line, the 18-year-old third-generation racer. I think
he can't quite do it.
Doesn't do it.
And it was 4 at the end. The average time.
No, he's done it.
He has indeed. He has done it by 4 100ths of a second. The last sector, a 35.473. He has done it. Wow. Unbelievable.
Well, he's definitely a youngster to watch from it.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be racing in Aussie Supercar Backup Series, or the Support Series, this coming season, I believe. Don't they call it Super 3 or something?
Yeah, it's one of the Super Series.
Yeah.
But what a lap from Cameron McLeod, celebrating Australia Day in fine style by putting the AGMC by AGMC Racing Team by Simpson on pole position for GT4. Provisional as always until we go through the scrutineering, and they've been 429 and 438 have been called to the scrutineers immediately after finish, and they'll head down into the scrutineering bay, which we look out over. If you're listening in on the radio, we're sitting up in the grandstand. The track below us runs from left to right to left.
It's just passing the Lotus Elise. I don't think we saw that out on track. There's, you know, obviously Lotus, great days of racing in the past. They had that little renaissance about 10 years ago. They ran at Le Mans. Johnny Molam amongst their drivers back then. And
he falls off chairs, apparently.
He does fall off a chair. And got more views for that than anything he ever did in racing, he says.
Hello, if you're listening. Stefano Moretti was at the wheel of the Lotus with an average time of 2:23.550. I think you were correct in what you said earlier on, that they may have some issues with that car. And just to make sure they made the grid, and they've got tonight to sort those things out.
Well, hopefully one of our pits reporters, Di or Peter, we'll get down and have a word with the teenager there.
Yep.
Great last lap. But,
yeah, he's got to take that car to scrutineering, so he will be bailing out of the car down there. I can see the officials down in front of scrutineering, just waiting for him.
Cars are down in scrutineering, so we're just waiting here for him to make
lovely
his way back
thank
up.
you.
So we'll grab him as soon as we can.
Yeah,
and I'll be
lovely
back to you.
colour scheme. I like the colour scheme of that BMW.
Okay, let's have a look at the highlights for qualifying for TCE and GT4.
Well, I'll bet you we'll see something.
So that was the highlights of our first qualifying session. We have 2 more qualifying sessions to come. The next one we're going to see is the GTX and 992 category, and that will have around about 23 cars in that one, and then after that, the 23 cars for GT3, including GT3 Pro-Am and GT3 Am. We got some very quick machinery here this weekend, Andrew.
We certainly have.
Yeah.
And a nice shot there, looking down. It's an unusual shot. Busy old pit lane there. Cars being shuffled around. And some of the Porsche just on the right, bottom right of your picture. First couple of cars already anxious to go and hope to have a clean track in front of them.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cars out there.
We've got just the 3 GTXs. Yep. 3 different cars, very different concepts. We've got the rear-engined French-built Vortex.
Yes.
2. That's a second generation car that they've built.
Yep.
Down near Montpellier, I think they're based. And then we got the KTM Expo GTX from the Razzoon More Than Racing Austrian team. And then we got the Toro Verde, which is effectively a factory Ginetta G56 Cup car, the one with the stonking engine that Ginetta boss Tomlinson is driving with his son. So Lawrence Tomlinson, who is big in the care home business, actually. I think that's where the money was made. But a very influential guy in British motor racing. So look, that Vortex has got a big 6.2 litre Chevrolet LS3 engine on the back of it, which is what's in the Corvette.
Hi guys, I've got the GT4 pole sitter with me now. Cameron McLeod has just arrived back here into the pit garage. Cameron, many congratulations with that clinching that pole position today. Was it the strategy at the beginning? Did it go to plan for that?
Yeah, well, I think all the drivers did an awesome job. You know, I was still getting my grips with the car, so I was just pushing every lap. You know, I make a little bit of mistakes and I could improve here and there, so I just kept going around and around. And yeah, I got it on the last lap by, I think, just the smallest margin ever. So it's fantastic. I'm very happy for the boys. Car was amazing. Everyone here is amazing, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's a great circuit, isn't it? And great to put it on pole for the start. I know it's a long race. We've got a 24-hour race ahead.
Yeah, 100%. Long race. Keep our heads down. Just keep it clean and enjoy the track, enjoy Dubai. So it's awesome.
Well, happy Australia Day to you as well.
Thank you. Yeah, happy Australia Day, everyone back home.
Woo! Well done, thank you.
Phil, thanks very much, Di. I want to know what that logo is. Sausage Royalty.
Sausage Royalty.
What is sausage? Since 1900, it says.
Since 1900. Well, I come originally from South Australia, where Richard Crailes is from as well. But I can't recall Sausage Royalty. And I've been out here now and for 18 years, so maybe it just didn't compute from where I was.
Yeah, maybe we could Google it even.
We could do that.
We could.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yes, I'm so proud to be sponsored by Sausage Royalty. Yeah, going back to the Vortex V8,
Yeah.
I mean, they're really hard-trying French teams. They've had a lot of knocks along the way. Oh, go on, Di. Do you know what Sausage Royalty is?
We are, yes. I'm still with the young man himself, and he's just told me that Sausage Royalty is a brand of food, and it is sausages in Australia. So I did say, have you got any here? He said no, but next time maybe. But yeah, we were debating in the commentary booth about what it was.
Yeah, it's amazing sausages. They make the bangers cheese Skranskis. I think they're only in Australia at the moment, but maybe they'll come overseas one day, or maybe I'll bring some over with me next year or the next Creventic series. So they're amazing. They're so good. I eat them like dinner, lunch, breakfast.
Well, you can tell them they've made the headlines here in Dubai.
Oh, I will. It's perfect. Sausage Royalty, #1.
Di made the headlines with a sizzling lap time.
Oh, dear.
Oh, very good, very
yeah,
good.
doors over there. Don't forget your coat. Thank you, Di. Track session underway now for our next category, which is the GTX and the 992 cars, as everybody is making their way out from the session. Now, to remember the rules. If you have an AM driver, they must be in this session. Okay, this is session 1 of 3. No tyre changes, no taking the tyres off the car, and no refueling. So this is going to get a little bit more tricky with 23 cars out on circuit. Yellow flags, that's going to spoil your lap. Code 60's going to spoil your lap. Red flags going to spoil your lap because you have a limited amount of fuel in there and you have a limited amount of tyre life at racing speeds or at qualifying speeds. So you're going to have to cycle the tyres, get all of these things out, and there's that beautiful Giannetta on screen at the moment making its way down. We thought when we saw it in Abu Dhabi that they've actually widened the guards a little bit more than we saw it in Kuwait, because Kuwait was its baptism, and the 795, what a fantastic looking car. And if you can get down to the circuit or hear it on the track microphones, it sounds amazing.
It does. Lawrence Tomlinson at the wheel, the man who bought the Giannetta company in 2005. He's got 4 Le Mans under his belt, and
why not?
And including winning the GT category in 2006 in a Panos with Richard, along with Richard Dean and some others. So Lawrence is over 60 now. He's from Batley in Yorkshire, and he's 151st in the Sunday Times top 500 rich list.
Wow.
So he's got a bit of brass, as they say in Yorkshire.
Yeah, a little bit,
but he's spent it very wisely in motor racing with Giannetta. All those junior series he does, you know, it really gives young lads in the UK a very good start, but in many other parts of the world as well. So anyway, Lawrence is racing with his son Freddie Tomlinson, who's just 19, and the big news is also in that car is Nicholas Prost.
Oh,
son of Ford, making his comeback to racing. Well, he's been off the radar a fair bit, having previously done with the Rebellion team 10 Le Mans.
Yep.
And I think, and then of course Formula E in 15-16 season, but been racing in the Ultimate. We mentioned the Ultimate Sports Car Series, but he has been racing in that quite recently. Certainly in 22 he was. So his dad, of course, world champion in 1985, 86, 89, and 92, the professor. So. Yep. Junior professor. Quite how they tempted him into the car, I don't know. Nicholas is quite an international guy, actually. He went to university. He's from the Loire Valley, the family from the Loire Valley. But he went to university in the States and did his whole degree in the States. And the first time I talked to him at Le Mans, he said, "Oh, I know you. I watched you on the Speed Channel." And I thought, well, how's that? Oh, I was in university. In America for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Well, his dad was here for the Golf Historic, and he drove his Ferrari.
Yeah.
So not too long back, GPX Racing here run the Golf Historic. They're also running the Clio's Cup this weekend. Hello to Fred Fatian down there. Yeah. He drove his Ferrari around the circuit, and I just was. The problem was we were in Kuwait. Doing the 12-hour.
Well, here is this Vortex with Arno Gomez, one of the two brothers who construct these cars. He's at the wheel at the moment. All that Chevrolet horsepower. Compared with the previous car, it's lower. It's lighter.
It's 100 kilos lighter.
Yeah, I think it's full carbon chassis now, and I don't think it was before.
Yep.
I believe that the well-known racing car, single-seater racing car manufacturer Mistral have given them a bit of help as well recently. But interesting concept. They've done very well in the Spanish GT. It's allowed in the Spanish GT Championship, the previous model. And
this is 2.0.
Yeah.
1.0 was the previous. They used to have two of them racing in the Creventic series.
Yeah. And so they raced in Spain as well.
Yep.
And in France a bit. And here it is. Stubby little thing, isn't it? But it can't weigh much and lots of horsepower.
We saw this car first in when in Kuwait.
Yeah.
When it was basically they did the launch in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And then it didn't race there. They were in the 1.0. Then I put this out there, and Nick Damon had a great chat with them about it, and then Joe Bradley had a chat about this car, and they've already sold two of them.
Have they?
They're building customer cars now.
Yeah.
So they've sold two of these as well. So there could be a one-make series in the not-too-distant future.
Very, very dynamic aero on it.
It's almost LMP type aero on there with the big, the big strakes coming up over the top of the diffuser and the holes through there. It's just a stunning looking car.
And it's fast. It's so fast.
It is indeed. 203.140 for Arnold Gomez. And then it's Fabian Dant in the red Camel Jordans.NL in the GT3 Porsche Cup car.
Yeah.
Leading the way in 992. Leading the way in 992 AM is Abdullah Ali Al Khalifi in the QMMF by HRT, but GT3 Cup car. That's the QMMF is the governing body of motorsport in Qatar, Qatar Motorcycle and Motorsport Federation.
And they've done a lot in rallying, haven't they, in the past?
That team started with us in Kuwait last year. They had two cars running. Had a great chat to the head of the QMMF and the track there, Amro El Hamed, who is part of multiple radical champion in this part of the world, and now is in track management and circuit management, and we see him at a lot of events. But great to see our friends from Qatar, and they are competitive in that car. Just having a look at it's the 931 and how they did down in the Yas Marina race, the 6 hour. And they were the leading AM car when they finished that race. So they're doing very well and very nicely indeed. And we have some of the cars here that we haven't talked about, the Middle East Trophy. Now, the Middle East Trophy is 3 races. It is the 12-hour of Kuwait, the 6 hour of Abu Dhabi, and the 24 hours of Dubai. Now, to be classified in this, you must compete in all 3 rounds. Okay, we'll go through the scoring list with you tomorrow on who is whence. Now, if the car number stays the same and they change category, they can still run, and this is more for GT3 and 992, who run categories, subcategories of the type. You can change and still be eligible in the Mazda category, but you can't be eligible in the other the category that you raced in. So it's quite well done, but the first season it was only 2 of the races that people had to compete, but now it is all 3 for the Middle East Trophy, and we will be presenting that tomorrow afternoon along with the trophies for the 19th running of the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai.
Looking at this vortex you were talking about a minute ago, I didn't want to interrupt your eloquent description of the Middle East Trophy. I was looking at the vortex. It's got down to a 2:02.6 and then stopped out on track between 12 and 13. So just like Andrew got his hizzy fit out of the way, I've got my curse of the commentator one out of the way straight away. That's me done. That said, if I don't get tripped over this massive cameraman here, who is, of course, Seb.
That's Pit Machine.
And I do find this very strange. Is it me, guys? But I was always taught never to let cars go the wrong way on a track. And just walking down to the Vortex that's come in, and the number 10 Grove Mercedes has been trolleyed up the pit lane the other way. So it always seems really odd.
They have to go to the fueling station because they have to fuel just before they go out. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I get that. It's just another car going back up the pit lane on a live track just goes against all my senses. I'm just old school.
Hey,
just old. I get
like
it. Yeah, well, that's it, mate. Yeah. The days when we used to have waste.
Back then too.
So I'm gonna see if we can find out what happened to the Vortex.
I'm staying with you. Oh, he's just taking his helmet off.
Yeah.
He has indeed. Hi, you had a little problem out there with the car. It went very quickly, then stopped.
Yes, no problem. The car is perfect. I try to keep the tire for my teammate for the second session in the third session.
Because on our tracker it looked like you'd stopped, so you didn't have a problem with the car?
No problem. No, the car is perfect.
That's all we need to know. Very quick.
Yes. But it's a new car. We are in development. We are happy of reliability of Kuwait and Abu Dhabi, and here we try to make to go to the end of 24 hours. It's the target for this race.
And what's the major change between the first version and this version? What have you done?
All. We change. It's a very new car. The engine is the same. After all is new carbon fiber, new gearbox, new aerodynamic. It's a very good car.
But the really good clue to me is that you're a driver that's smiling. So that if you're smiling, you're happy with the car.
Yes. In the car, it's wonderful to drive. It's not tired. I'm not tired in this car, and it's very interesting to drive this car.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
That was Arno Gomez with Peter Snowden down there in the pit lane as they've come back in, and about half the field, Andrew, have come back in now, and they're doing exactly the same thing. They're just saving fuel.
Yeah, but Fabian Dans, I noticed in the Red Camels Jordan car, that's the Brokers family car, Brokers, I should say,
yes.
Is one of the guys behind Creventic, has pushed this series, has put everything into it, but he also has a racing team. He's been a pretty quick racing driver over the years, and he's got his two sons both racing. Rick, of course, has had tremendous success in Lamborghinis and other cars, and had class wins at Daytona 24 and other places, and that's a very well-run team, and yeah. Go on.
Just stopped in the pit lane here. Seb's filming it right now. Never an opportunity to be missed. You just put a pre-made for sale sign on the top of the car.
Excellent.
There you go. Talk about that's a very definition of try before you buy.
Excellent.
There you go.
Well, I think they're looking to buy a new one, because that one has done quite a lot of work actually, and obviously Rick and his brother drive it really quickly. They're both about Rick. I thought Rick was going a long way in motor racing, maybe heading for prototypes, and then for some reason he decided to get more involved in the business side with them, and he loves driving, but he doesn't see himself as a total full-time professional racing driver. So anyway, we'll see Rick out in the car later, and be interested to see if they can close the 1.3 second gap there is at the moment to the very interesting French-built, at the moment, one-off Vortex 2.0. Another car to watch for will be the 925 Team Captain America by Bas Kurtens.
That's got a paint job and a half on it this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, Kurt Swearingen. It's mainly the American drivers, mainly that. So I know that car's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So we'll see when the more experienced drivers get in it.
Yes, so anybody who is an AM driver had to go out in that first section, and we did see that, and what we're going to see, especially with the 992s, that we have a lot of AM cars in there. We have 14 AM cars and 6 just running in 992. We don't call it 992 Pro, it's just 992. So they all get registered under the 992 category. The subcategory is the AM category, as we have a look at the Resume More Than Racing KTM Crossbow. This is, we saw this, it's got a Qatari driver, a Kuwaiti driver in there this weekend, Haytham Kwarajuli. Now he'll be out a little bit later on. Artur Twist is in the car at the moment, currently running third in the GTX category, but a very pretty little car. Had competed last season as well in the Middle East Trophy. And it's great to have our young Kuwaiti driver back in the car again. He's been doing some LMP stuff out in Europe, getting a lot of experience, but a stunning looking car. The Milwaukee branding on it really, really suits that car.
Yeah, of course, KTM with a huge history of motorsport, mainly with two wheels and lots of wins on the Dakar and so on, but produced a beautiful car. I think it's got an Audi engine in the back of that.
I'm not too sure. They
used to have anyway.
Well, the one they had last year in Kuwait, they did some of that Audi engine ended up on the track.
Oh,
They did a 4-hour engine change and still got to and made the end of the race. So very, very well done from the team, the Razuna More Than Racing team. Checkered flag is out to bring this part of the qualifying. This was Q1. 2 more to go. 5 minutes. We're going to change drivers, and then they're all going to head off down pit lane. Can't go to the fuel bay, or they have to just go down there and park up. So at the moment, and I don't want to put the commentator's curse on this one just yet, Andrew, is that none of the sessions, with the amount of cars we've had out there, have had any stoppages or delays at all. We've been green flag all the way.
Excellent, excellent. I did mention the Team Captain America by Cooten's car 95. That's a car to watch for, because Kay Van Berlo is driving that. Kay's been racing very successfully, mainly in Porsches out in North America, and pretty sure he's had a lot of wins in the main Porsche series in the States. Has also raced in LMP3 cars, and I think he'll be one to watch for, to be honest.
Yeah, most definitely. As we have, I think, 9 in-car cameras this weekend, 10 around, a drone as well. So full coverage, uninterrupted, all weekend.
Interested. Oh, go on.
Pit lane with Paul Truswell from Red Camel. Paul, it's only the first session. You are the master statistician, so whatever I say, you'll say, but you haven't allowed for this. But it is only the first session, but you must be very happy with that so far.
Very happy, very happy. Very, thank you, Vortex. Very happy so far, obviously. I mean, Fabian did a great job out there. At the moment, my role is just to sit and watch, really, because there's nothing I can do. It's down to the drivers.
You're just collecting numbers. That's when it all goes wrong in race teams, when it gets down to the drivers. We know that's the Achilles heel of race teams.
Yeah, but it's the race that matters. I mean, it's all very well being at the front or near the front. Obviously, we want to be as near to the front as we can be, but it's qualifying. You don't get any points for qualifying. Nobody remembers who qualifies well up. We're interested in the race. So what we're really trying to do is to make sure we've got a good race set up for the car.
That's a very good question I'm going to ask here. Is a point you've just made there is, Paul, that I've always thought that when I was racing endurance racing, and you're a master strategist, but I've always had this theory of this. It's not like Formula One where it's absolutely critical down to the thousandths. It's almost irrelevant where you start in a grid, and that's probably a bit of I exaggerate for clarity. But how important is qualifying in a 24-hour race from somebody like your position as a strategist?
For me, it makes no difference at all. For the team, it's a really big motivator. So, I mean, I don't know how well you know the Red Camel team, but they are not professional mechanics. They come to the races because they want to come to the races. They want to have a good time. And if their car is up at the front, it just does the motivation and it does the mood a whole lot of good. So if we're near the front, we're so much more motivated for the race.
A massive morale booster.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. So we've got Rick in the car now. He's going to go out. He should be quick. Luke, the younger brother, is going to be out third. So far, so good.
And drivers are notoriously good at not listening to any kind of instructions and doing their own things and being a bit kind of almost feral. So do you have control of that? Do they do it because you're the strategist? You're the ones, you need to do this or run this to save fuel? You get that control?
So at the moment, the instruction Rick has got is to mind track limits. Look out for track limits. We'll see whether he keeps it in between the white lines.
That's probably quite a good thing to get established at the beginning of the weekend as well, isn't it? Get into a mindset.
The trouble is that you want to minimise the amount of time the car is out there so that Luke has the best chance, the best tyres. So he really has to set a good lap on his first or second flying lap. Then if he gets pinged for a track limits on one of those, he's in trouble.
Paul, thank you very much. Paul Truswell is the strategist at Red Camel, the 909 Porsche that Fabian Dance, the Swiss driver, has just put on a provisional pole in its class. Of course, it's got another 2 sessions to go.
And Paul, of course, a long-time member of the Radio Le Mans team over the years.
Yes.
At the 24-hour race, used to lap chart the whole thing. I mean,
Excel
mechanically.
spreadsheet it, yes, unbelievable. To quote Mr. Hindhoff, the brain the size of a planet.
But he's also got very superbly clever computer systems that look at everybody's stint times and things like that. It's very interesting, the information you can get from Paul if he lets you.
And
there is just seeing there through the onboard, the Russian car, the SMP, Russian back car, I should say, 937. So that's got, we'll be interested to see who starts a 937. It'll be very interesting to see how 2 former Formula 1 drivers get on in that Porsche as well. I don't know what racing they've been doing recently, but obviously, you know, Petrov, about 3 seasons, didn't he, in Formula 1?
From my very rusty memory.
It was 10 years ago.
10. Before I started doing Formula 1 commentary. As the cars are now making their way out for session number 2.
Not forgetting that Petrov has also done a lot of sports car racing with that sponsor, of course, built their own car, and he's finished 3rd at Le Mans 2 years.
Amazing.
Overall, that is. And 57 Formula 1 starts, seasons 10, 11 and 12, with Lotus, Caterham, and at the beginning with the Renault team. And I think his best result, he had a podium with Lotus in 11 actually. So I mean, a good Formula 1 career from the 39-year-old from Viborg who started racing in a Lada. Is that a surprise? And
no.
They're just saying Rick Broikers there now, and the other Russian with Formula 1 history. In that 937 SMP racing by Kramer is Sergei Surtakin, who had the 1 season in 2008 with with Williams, and then had a couple of years as the Renault 3rd driver in effect. And I think his best result, he got a point in Italy. So he only got 1 top 10 finish in that year. But he's raced all around the world, and his father was actually the head of the National Institution of Aviation Technology, and Sergei has got a degree in race car engineering, so well steeped in motor racing. And nice to see 2 old F1 drivers back racing.
Yep, well, that's what happens with F1 drivers, isn't it?
Well, they either go into sports car racing, or obviously. But SMP Racing has been a phenomenal supporter of the sport, and the boss of it, an oligarch called Boris Rottenberg. They own banks, but they also own companies that have just constructed gas lines and gas pipelines, and they generate electricity. It's a huge company. And of course, in 2018, they built their own LMP1 contender with an AER engine in, and Jenson Button drove for SMP, if you remember. So, session 2 now been going for a couple of minutes, and have we got the time yet?
I think
and it's Lionel Amarouche, who's a regular in the Vortex team. Been driving, we've seen him in Creventic quite a lot, and Rick Broikers immediately up there. So I think there's a chance of the Red Camel Jordan going for the pole. Kay Van Berlo, who I mentioned just earlier, already is going quickly. And also, I noticed Freddie Tomlinson in that Monster Ginetta going well also. So the next 10 minutes, next 10 minutes or so. There's going to be a lot happening here. Very interesting. The 961 car, the FAC Autotech, is one of the big German Porsche factories. They've got various historic racers driving in that car, including Yves Shamama, who I've seen racing a lot at the Daytona Classic. And Shamama, very quick in various sports cars that he owns. So, Freddie Tomlinson, young man, son of, right up there into, well, he was fourth, but now Vortex just gone a bit quicker. And seeing who else. That Porsche, Alexander Smolyar, is another Russian in the SMP-backed car.
Yep.
But Breukers had gone fastest. Quick lap from Breukers. 2:03.706, and puts the Breukers Red Camel Jordan's car with the sort of semi-professional mechanics, as Paul was telling us. And very good lap from Rick there. And it's about 0.7 of a second faster than any of the Porsches.
Freddie Tomlinson just popped up into sixth position. Still running third in the GTX category, 6 overall in the G56 Cup car, 2:05.501 on his last lap. And as the positions are now starting to change, we've got around 9 minutes to go in this session. So as we heard from some of the people down in the pits, it's very much, okay, we've only put this much fuel in, because more fuel you put in, the more weight you've got to carry, the more work that makes the tyres do. And so everybody's trying to minimise the amount of load on the car and get the quickest lap time possible. We did see it down at Yas in the 6 hour last week. The last session was absolutely dynamite. It was, because you put your best drivers in.
Yeah, Phil, I'm looking forward to seeing that Ginetta in the night, because I noticed it's already throwing quite a lot of put my teeth back in.
Hang on, I caught the
throwing quite a lot of flames out.
Yes,
I am trying to say.
Indeed. Okay, and Stephen Paulette goes to the top now with the Post-Sport Racing, and a 901 car, 2:03 average, 2:03. Oh, Lionel Amarouche just goes, and I'll have that back, thank you. Wow. It's there hot laps happening there, because Rick Breukers did the fastest middle sector of that, but a great lap by Lionel Amarouche, at 2:04. 660 gives them an average at the moment, because of that 2:02 done in the first section, a 2:03.660, just about a tenth better than the 901 of Stephen Paulette, running different categories, of course. GTX is the 701, and the 901 is the 992. It's nice of Creventic to name all the 992 cars 9. It's easy to sort out. 7 is for the GTX category, 4 for the GT4 category, and then the GT3 category, as we'll see a little bit later on, they all run up to 100.
Yeah, Stephen Paulette normally drives in the main GT series in Europe, the Fanatec World Challenge.
Few lap times being disallowed at the moment. The 902, the 971 and the 931 all having laps disallowed for track limits, and the 931, that's what you don't want to have. That's at turn 16, so he's going to lose that lap and the lap after. Yeah, and that's Ibrahim Ali Al Abdul Ghani in the QMMF by HRT, so he's going to lose 2 laps out of that. And with around 6:27 to go and a 2-minute lap, that's 4 minutes it's going to take out of his time.
So Paulette's obviously a bit of a hot shoe, isn't he?
Yeah.
And just check out his CV. I mean, it's not really on my. So he won the LMP3 class of the Asian Le Mans Series in 22, and won the Silver Cup in 20 in the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Series, and has been third in the Porsche Carrera Cup France, started racing in various Peugeots, RCZs, and so he's got a nice little CV behind him, and he's obviously got some good speed there. So he's a man to watch for, driving for the German Pro Sport team. Used to run Charlie Putnam's Porsche a few years ago, and ran also the early Mercedes that CP Racing had. So at the moment it's the Pro Sport Porsche 911 first, second Amrouche in the Vortex V8, and then Daniel Drexel is now third in that KTM Crossbow has come right up the field.
Yep, and then very good driver.
Yeah, then Rick Breukers, and then Smolya, who is a young Russian that's been racing in the European Formula 3 Championship, and then Kay Van Berlo, and then Freddie Tomlinson.
I think what the Vortex and the Red Camel Jordans are doing, I mean, they're back into the pits with under 5 minutes to go. They're doing it, and Felix Neudhofer also doing the same in the 988, and Jonas Holmgaard in the Holmgaard Motorsport. Porsche, they're all doing the same thing. It's about giving the guy who's coming last the best tyres and enough fuel to get through the entire thing. As we, it's a very much a strategic game of making this work.
On our screen, the KTM, that car is evolved, you know, from that open top car.
Yes.
That chassis actually built by Dallara has evolved into a lovely looking GT car, isn't it?
It is indeed. It's very pretty, very pretty indeed. Had a really good look at that one in Kuwait. They were having problems with because the roof lifts up on it, it goes vertically, and they were having a lot of problems with the locking hinge on the front. So they had to do a little bit of work around that. I can still see, normally you can't see the line of where it comes down, but you can see that. I think they've got that sorted now, because they actually had to do a pit stop so they could re-secure it, because the driver can't re-secure it from the inside, especially when it pops up, because of the way the cage is and everything inside.
Phil, do you know what a Bond bug is?
No.
Bond bug, you've heard of the Reliant company.
Yes,
built
Robin,
you know,
that very well.
So they bought a company called Bond, who built some sports cars or Formula Junior cars, and they built a three-wheeler, and you could only get them in orange, and it was front wheel. Daniel Drexel gone fastest. One wheel at the front, two at the back, and that had exactly the same system. The whole front lifted up. Now, I famously, on the road test for Motoring News, managed to put one on its side, spectacularly in front of a dole queue. In Bond Hill Street, London, which is where the Motoring News offices were. And I've never lived it down.
You wouldn't, not doing it there.
No, but a Bond bug. But the things were quick, because they weighed nothing. It had a lovely little aluminium 750cc engine in the back. But anyway, it had the same system to get in and out as this KTM.
So on aggregate time at the moment, they are 1/10 up on Stephen Pillet's Pro Sport Racing a 992 Cup car, different category. But the biggest thing is they're 2/10 up on the Vortex 2.0. So Daniel Drexel has got that car a couple of positions on the grid up. We still have one quali session to go in this one. And so what can Freddie Tomlinson do as well? He's done his best first and last sector personally with a 204.557. That still puts him at an aggregate of 204.482. He's around about 9/10 off the pace of the two other GTX cars out there. But in the 992, well, it's a 992 AM car leading the 992 series at the moment. The 909 Breukers car running in second position, but in the 992, the second AM car is the Team Captain America car, which is very, very pretty. That's the 925 running second in AM at the moment. So most interesting the way this is playing out with about 1:32 to go. So we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars left on the circuit at the moment. Some green sectors going in for a couple of them as they make their way through. Salem Al-Khatebi from Rabdan by Fulgenzi does his fastest personal best, 206.593, currently down there running 8th in the AM category. As 1 minute to go as more cars come into the pits, getting ready for this final. A little bit of time to let the tyres cool down, let the engines cool down, get the car in the best possible position for doing a 15-minute quali session.
Interesting to see they're sponsored by Milwaukee, who are a direct rival of DeWalt, who have been big in sponsorship of racing cars in the past, TVRs and such at Le Mans. So nice to see a decent sponsor there. DeWalt power tools, of course.
All the LEDs plus some doing the lighting, and there are
just balanced right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautifully. I talked to the guys in Kuwait about how what this car is like to drive, and they said it's very neutral. It's probably got 50-50 corner balance on it, so it's a really nicely weighted car. With full fuel load and light fuel load, and predictable on new and old tyres. So pretty impressive as the checkered flag is being waved down at the podium area, the start-finish line, as everybody will be bringing their cars back in. We still have the 930-714 just coming around to finish that lap. 989 just going through underneath us now, and rest of the cars in the pit. So this will be a short 5-minute break before we get into that.
In the middle of a picture, the Captain America car. He was a superhero. I don't know why they call it a superhero, that team.
I'm not too sure.
No.
I haven't spoken, and maybe we can get the guys to go and have a chat with them a little bit later on with the 925. But
I think it must have been in comic as well, maybe.
Well, it's the movie. It's the franchise because it's done by Baz Coton Racing, and Baz has been around these systems.
That's the top coming up.
There we go. And that is Daniel Drexel getting out of the car. Be very happy with that. And
Austrian driver in an Austrian car.
Yep.
Looks as if he's got a new crash hat. Hasn't had it painted yet.
Hi guys, I'm with Daniel now down here in the pit lane.
Let's go down to Die Banks with Daniel Drexel.
Daniel, you put that quick time in on about your 6th lap out there. Did it feel like a quick lap at the time?
Yeah, I made a little mistake and the tires weren't like in the first lap anymore, but it was we had difficulties during free practice. It was always red flag and yada yada. So this was a lap I feel good with. It could have been a bit better, but I don't know where I'm in the standings. I have no idea, so I have to look where we are now.
Well, it seemed like a very good lap. Obviously, you were happy with the balance of the car at this point, but I guess it's key to all the strategy that plays out ahead of the race tomorrow and learning as much as you can.
Yeah, sure. We were still tweaking the car still after the last free practice session. So, in the end, the further you're front, the better it is because there's less cars in front of you that can mess up your race. So, still important the qualifying, but of course the focus is tomorrow.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Di. Thank you, Daniel.
Wise words from the Austrian then?
Yeah, they know about this endurance racing.
Yeah.
There we have a look at the Apex Garden on turn 15. Great place to watch. LED screen there, see all the live action.
Wonder where that screen came from.
Yeah, I don't know. My backyard looking very empty at the moment. It won't be too long until we'll be underway with Q3 for GTX and 992, and then the big one coming your way a little bit later on with all the GT cars. 23 of them will take to they're almost half the grid. I remember back in the days when we used to have Mitsubishi Mirages and Renault Clios taking up the first half of the pits, right? And then the GT3 cars are sort of down the end because there's a few of them. It's sort of turned around because obviously Creventic have read the room over the years and gone with categories of racing where people have cars, and just doing that and it's been evolution. It's been an evolution, and it's such a so many GT3 cars around the planet at the moment, so it's a really nice thing to see. Yes, we still have big, but we've still got TCR cars. You know, we've still got the GT4 cars, and you know, all the Clio Cups. Well, they're doing a different race completely. They're doing 2 25-minute races plus 1 lap this weekend, and we'll bring that will be live on their channel as well.
Interesting to see what Toro Verde, the team run by Julian Westwood, with that effectively factory Ginetta, whether they'll put Nicholas Prost in the car now or Mike Simpson. Mike, of course, head of motorsport for Ginetta the last 14 years, and a very quick racing driver indeed. So whether it will be Mike Simpson or Nicholas Prost will be interesting to see.
Have I got two-way comms with you this year, Tim?
So, you see, it's not that hot today, but just a bit of heat haze coming off the pit lane. I think we're going on board in the RPM car 911, and that's a Porsche.
Phantasmagorical. That's the first
Tracy Krohn, Nicholas Jonsson, Philip Hambrecht, promising young driver that Tracy's picked up, and the multi Porsche Super Cup champion Patrick Huisman. So we should see some good times from that particular car, and they are flagged away. And you can't miss the Tracy Krohn Racing colours of the green that we've seen at Le Mans saw at Le Mans for well over a decade. Tracy having, I think, 3 or 4 podiums at Le Mans over the years. Oil magnate from Houston, Texas. See, they're just getting on our screens now. It is, as Paul said, Luke Brukers in the Red Camel Jordan car. Certikid will be in the SMP Racing, the ex-Williams Formula 1 driver. And one to watch for 931's got a very quick young driver in Julian Hanses.
Yes, indeed.
He'd been picked up by the Kuwaiti team. He'll be another one to watch for.
Yeah, Haitham Parajouli, the Kuwaiti racer in the KTM for the Rasoon Northern Racing. Now that he's going to be somebody to watch in this session. He was very quick down at Yas. He's done a lot of LMP driving in Europe over between his racing here. He only has one big race at home, which is the 12-hour in Kuwait. Yeah. So, but he's been doing a lot of sport.
I seem to remember him racing in the UK in Ginetta Juniors back about 4 or 5 years ago. But I think he's had a lot of success in that Ligier Euro Series, which he won in 22, according to my notes here.
Very, very rapid driver. Had the presence of mind while the car was on fire in Kuwait in 2022 to pull into the penalty box. And Bruce, I think it was Joe Bradley at the time, asked him, said, why did you pull in here? He said, this is where the fire extinguishers are. Really presence of mind. The car, the engine's behind him. It's on fire. Bits of the engine are all over the track. And he has the presence of mind to know in the pit lane where the fire extinguishers were. Very, very clever indeed. And he parked alongside it, so it didn't leave any oil in the penalty box.
Nico Post is in the Toro Verde Ginetta.
He is.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And so just take a couple of laps for this to give us a pretty good indication. Oliver Gomez, the other Gomez brother, who I presume is the quickest of the two, has just done a very quick sector 3 time. Also on Martin Raginger, who's a long-time Porsche driver. I'm not sure he's a full Porsche supported driver, but certainly one of the family. He will be one to watch in this session, Martin Raginger. I think he had quite a lot of success at this race in the past, certainly in Porsches.
Yep, 11:49 or roundabouts to go in this session. And a purple first sector for the aforementioned Oliver Gomez.
Just spotted in 925 in the Captain America car is a guy called Grant Torquay. He should be a commentator.
He should indeed. He should indeed. Oh dear. He's getting up to speed out there at the moment. He's on his outlap at the moment. Nico Pross on his outlap. Benjamin Park in the Septulu racing by Duo Racing on his outlap. Christian Trader in the Fuck Auto Tech and the 961 car also on his outlap.
Yeah, he's another, that car's got these various historic racers in, including Mark Davis, who I've seen winning races in Lola T70s at the Daytona Classic, and sells lots of top racing cars, second-hand, you know, ex-Formula 1 cars at Mark Drayton. Great shots there of the Vortex 701, those stunning aerodynamics in the car, but it looks glued to the circuit.
It does indeed.
And,
yeah, very glued to
it. Got that Chevy Corvette 6.2 litre engine pushing it along. And
let's have a look at turn. Big lock-up coming down into turn 14. You got a very long run off there. It's one of the 902 Cup cars.
Those tyres are not going to be as good as they were before he went out on this lap.
It's going to be difficult for them to do a respective lap with the tyres being slightly flat.
And Gomez gone quicker than anybody. So Gomez 202.825, and that's making me think that car's going to be on the pole. You know,
it is so quick.
It's got almost a second on.
I think
the nearest rival.
I think over these three Creventic races in the Middle East Trophy, that they've unlocked more performance from that car.
Yeah,
it's going. You know, it was struggling a little bit in the GTX in Kuwait. Obviously, it's its first outing. You wouldn't expect it to be up the front. Then it's got progressively quicker, more stable. Haytham Paragiuli goes up into second position. A 203.774 for him puts his aggregate at 203.557, just 2 tenths behind Ollie Gomez in the Vortex. That's a good lap from Haytham Paragiuli.
So the predominantly Russian ex-Formula 1 racer car, 937 is third. The Broikers, Red Camel Jordan is fourth, and then Nico Prost just put in a very good lap actually, so that bounces back up to fifth place now. The Ginetta G56 Cup Plus car, I think they call it.
The Cup Plus car, yep. That was his fastest lap as they're getting underway. Just over 8 minutes to go.
And then Ragina is sixth. He's a really good professional peddler. A lot of success at the Nürburgring and so on. So, I mean, of all those Porsche 911 drivers, I would have said he's got to be one of the best. But it's still, the Vortex is looking spectacularly good, isn't it?
Yep, indeed. Some turn 16 lap times disallowed. Remember, that's that lap and the next lap. The 930 and the 901 both getting lap times deleted. That's Frank Abduri in the HRT Performance Cup car and the 901.
That HRT team's extraordinary. I think last year, they ran 5 cars, didn't they?
Indeed.
And must mention, there's an outstanding program here produced by Creventic, and if you go on their website you can get it online.
Yep.
And if you've got enough money to use all the printer ink, you can print the whole thing up, you know. And there's an excellent article about that team in there by James Gent, who puts the magazine together. Does an outstanding job with that.
James very well. He did a lovely report on my R32 Skyliner replica I built out here of the 1991 Bathurst winning car, and he did a great report on that when he was out here, and good to see him again. The Vortex has come into the pits. I think that's their fuel load spent. They've got 7.5 minutes to watch the clock now to see if anybody's going to come up and better them, and they have that by 2 tenths of a second over the 714 at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's all up to Haytham Paragiuli now. He's going back out again. So he is going back out again. Wow. It's unusual to do a pit stop in the middle of this. Did he have to have something adjusted on the car? Or was there something else going on there with Oliver Gomez? Interesting to find that out.
Maybe he just thought he could dial something out of it or something into it.
Yeah. Very quick stop. It wasn't very long at all. So we don't know what they're going to do And the FAC Autotech car also on an outlap, so they've come in to do a tweak, I would say, with just around about under 6 minutes to go before we see the checkered flag. This is qualifying 3, the final session, which will set the grids for GTX and 992 for the 19th running of the 24 Hours of Dubai, powered by Hankook, getting underway at 1 p.m. local time here in Dubai tomorrow afternoon, and consequently finishing 24 hours later.
Yeah, and of course another 24-hour race, the other side of the world. There is Daytona. It wasn't meant to be like that, but it is, and caused the circuit here and Creventic to work really hard, because obviously the freighter bringing the cars here was delayed in the high seas, and so much effort going on to move this race a week later. Of course, it clashed with Daytona, which is a shame. It is 9 hours different, so for you fans out there, it's an absolute bonanza of endurance racing, and you can see every lap of it, of course, right here with us.
Indeed, and good luck to our team over there. Let's Peter Snowden down in the pit. Snowy.
Yeah, just a very, very quick update on the Vortex. You just questioned why it came in. It was simply a tyre pressure check. That was all it was.
Thank you very much for that one.
And Peter, if you get the chance, I'd love to hear from Nico Prost if you're around the Toro Verde garage. No, a bit. Well, no, Peter. Obviously. Although we got a spinner out there, actually, 902 cars just spun out on the track. So the first spin we've seen. But no, I think we need to speak to the pole sitter, obviously, don't we, first? But if you get the chance, it might be nice to hear from Nico Prost, although I'm sure we'll be able to hear from him in the race anyway. You know, he speaks really well, Nico. You know, terrific career behind him. Not quite as stellar as his dad, of course, but 10 Le Mans, as I said, and great results with the Rebellion team over the years. Nice to have him back.
The 902, Magnus Holmgaard at the wheel of that, has a little bit of spin. Now, that did ruin a couple of people's laps because they had yellows out at turn 16, which means everybody has to get off the gas a little bit. And if they were on a flying lap, that would have compromised their lap time. So that is the first yellow flag we have seen. Interruption into the qualifying today.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is indeed.
But I just noticed the Vortex, I think it's on another quickie. Fastest in the first sector.
Seriously.
So yeah,
as we said, tyre pressure adjustment, just making a little bit, just to get the car into that right window.
And I've seen that team in the past over the years of this series have all sorts of mechanical issues and stuff, and obviously they got better at it. Yeah. And then now they've built the second car, learned many lessons. So they ran another sort of bit of a one-off French car before they built the Vortex 1.
Yeah.
Or 1.0 as they call it, in sort of computer speak, isn't it, really?
It is.
But
digital speak. Let's speak
digital speak.
Digital speak.
Well, I'm so impressed that a French squad like this can produce a car of this standard and speed. You know, it's a great effort. And one of the things I like about this Creventic series, there's so much variety, variety of nationalities. I meant to have a count up, and I didn't do it yet.
Yeah.
Well, there's got to be about 25 different nationalities in racing here, and all these different manufacturers, intriguing different cars, and the rules allow that. The fact they have a rule that allows a car like this to race. It doesn't fit into a normal FIA category, you know, but here it is, and allows Ginetta to bring their cup car and bolt a bigger engine in and wider wheels and so on. I'm all for variety, and I have to go a rant now. I know you do Formula 1, Phil, and it's still got the best drivers in the world and some fantastic racing, but it does not have the variety when I was doing it. I did it for the best part of 30 years, and then we had flat 12 engines, we had V8 engines, we had V12 engines, we had twin chassis, we had 6 wheels, we had so much variety, and it's all gone, and every car looks the same. bar the paint job and bar a little bit of aero, and maybe Red Bull.
It is a waste of one
maybe Mercedes try and do something a bit different with the aero so it doesn't work. So they've got to go back using the same computer program for all the other people, you know, and then all the cars look the same.
Oliver Gomez is absolutely going for it. He made a mistake coming out of turn 14, out of the bowl, got a big sideways moment in the vortex. He's gone again. He's done another fastest for sector 1. He's already on top of the GTX at the moment. He's got some traffic in front of him, and that he's going to have to get through in the 701. Yeah, that was he just ruined that lap on the last one. He said, well, I'm going to give it another shot. I'm going to try that again as he makes his way up through turn the top of the hill there at turn 12, down through the flat-out kink at 13. He's flying the Gianetta through.
Well, there isn't much elevation change here. It's the fill, but there is a bit. And there's also one corner is quite banked, isn't it, if I remember?
Yeah, that's turn 9. We call it the 8-9. It's a parabolica.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of blanking on it. He's coming up the hill now. 48.859 in sector 2. Probably not going to best his 202.825. Just waiting for him to come down through turn 16 now. Can't run wide out of here. You've got to keep one part of the car on the red and white curbs as he makes it across the line. No, he's still... he lost it in sector 2 and sector 3. Yeah. I think his tyres have had enough. They've been out there for... They've probably done, out of the 45 minutes of track time, they've probably done around about 24 minutes on track, because they've cut each session short to try and sort of work out, okay, we only want this much fuel. But they're leading the way in GTX at the moment by 0.2 of a second, and Haitham Karajouli in the KTM Crossbow from Razoon More Than Racing is not improving at the moment. It looks like they're going to hold that. I'm just waiting for the checker, looking down at the gantry. The finger signals are being given to the flag marshal, and it's going to count down to 1 now, and there we go for the checkered flag for Q3 for this category of the 992 and the GTX category.
And it is the Russian car, the SMP Racing Machine 937, which takes the pole, of course, for the 99 category. I say 991 category, I should say.
We had some 991 cars running down, and the P21 Motorsport had 2 991 Cup cars. The beauty for them under code 60 as balancing performance, they can take 100% fuel, but we don't have. I don't think we've got any 991s running here, because they were running in the GTX category. We did have one running in the GT3 category.
Yeah. So, great session and huge promise being shown by the new Vortex V8 built in the summer of last year. And I'm sure our pits reporters are hustling around. Cars, of course, having to go to the scrutineering bay. I see they didn't call the 701 to the scrutineering bay.
Okay, interesting. It's random. It's race directed random.
Yeah.
It was in the supplementary regulations. So it's a random draw of cars from the race director to do scrutineering after qualifying.
And in that 992 category, I suppose we must point out that third fastest of the 992s was Grant Torquay in the Team Captain America Bas Cotus run car, and the time done by Grant Torquay. So possibly doesn't need to be the commentator after all.
Exactly. Everybody making their way back into the pits as we get ready for the big section.
The Holmgard Motorsport car was often a lead contender in 992, way down in 19th for some reason. I don't know if they had some issues. The Russian car is won by K. Kramer Racing, and that's a relatively new German team, and they had a great result in the Nürburgring 24-hour race last year. They were the best of the Porsches, the best of the non-GT3 cars. Now there's the team, and there is Peter Snowden in all his glory and his shorts. Peter, going to dive in with the...
I'm not sure that bit was necessary to be mentioned. I've just managed to grab hold of Oliver Gomez, who's we've set the scene for this pit lane report now. He just said to me, my English is very bad, to which I said, it's far better than my French. But so there you go. So we'll do a bit of franglais between us. Oliver, so the only thing you need to do is P1, pole position.
Well, I'm very happy. It's a job of a lot of guys. Mechanicians work a lot of. It's amazing because 3 months ago, we are not sure to participate at 24-hour Dubai. So we are here and we are the pole position. So it's amazing.
Well, it's a great start to the weekend. So 3 months ago, you weren't sure you were even taking part. What made you decide to do it?
It's this car is the Middle East is a championship is the development of this car. We decided this 3 months ago. We think is ideal condition to develop the car. So we are happy to make the pole position in Kuwait, in Abu Dhabi, and now Dubai.
So three races in the Middle East Trophy and 3 times on pole position. It's a very good development programme, isn't it?
Thank you.
The smile says it all. Oliver Gomez, thank you so much and good luck for the race.
And merci. Very good, Peter. So I think we're going to got some highlights coming up.
Down nicely here.
Well, food here.
Getting a bit hungry.
Yeah. Quite sure what that is from this angle.
Indeed. Well, somebody's having something.
Yeah.
Very nice indeed. It's the Vortex Team cookies. Wow, that's nice indeed.
Looks very French to me, French cuisine.
Indeed. But beautifully catered for. As we are now heading off into GT3 qualifying.
Yeah, well, this should be sensational. And best ever lineup with GT3 cars for this race, I believe.
Is London going to be doing this one?
We're looking down there on those solar panels. And what's that bird? Any bird? Oh, we need a caption. Tell us what kind of bird that is.
Bruce, are you ready to go in London?
Sitting up there. So,
okay, we're going to throw to London very, very shortly.
So, well, I'm not sure about the pecking order here or the pecking order.
We're going to throw to you just as the cars are leaving the pits, okay?
But as I was just saying, well, I think you were talking to London. We'll be switching commentary teams in just a moment. But great scene here at Dubai. It's interesting. You can see the. When I came here, when they opened the track, there was hardly any buildings behind the circuit, Phil. I mean, you've been here, what, 16 or 17 years? There was none, no. When I came in 81 to do that Dubai Grand Prix, there was, I mean, it was a tenth of the size. I think it was down by the Sheraton Hotel, that race. And I suppose that's by the creek, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Right next to the creek, Dubai Creek, which now goes all the way around and goes back out to the ocean. It didn't do it back then. Did it not?
Yeah. Well, it's just, I mean, if you like civil engineering, this is the place of the most phenomenal feats of civil engineering anywhere in the world here in Dubai.
Most definitely. It's grown. When I came here in 2005, this is where Dubai finished. Okay, Arabian Ranches was still next door, but behind us now goes 20 kilometres back for apartments and various other things. And looking out from our commentary box, we look out towards the sea. We're looking out to the west. We used to be able to see all the way there. Now it's totally built up in front of us. Again, you know, we can barely see the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building. It's just sneaking through between the buildings now. I can still see Burj Al Arab just down the book, and I only see half of it now.
Yeah, I can see it out of my hotel bedroom window. But I believe the population here is about 3.6 million now.
Somewhere around that,
yeah, that's what it is.
Yes, we're getting
just down a bit further from here is the golf club where the Dubai Classic was held just last week. Rory McIlroy had a win, and there is a motor racing connection, is there not? Or have you missed that?
I've missed it.
Okay, Rory McIlroy has just bought into, along with some other leading sportsmen, bought into the Alpine team.
Oh.
So they've sold off quite a bit of the Alpine team. He's one of those sportsmen. There's Anthony Joshua, the boxer, is another one. Quite a lot of
we had a few of them at the Alpine race where they announced all of that.
So there is the motor racing connection. We look down on the...
I try and concentrate on Formula One.
I like golf, and actually I'm a big tennis fan as well. So.
Indeed.
Yeah. And also, you live back in your home country, in Melbourne. Tennis is building up to a big climax and, a shock result actually last night. But tennis fans will know about that. But I went to the Melbourne Tennis Centre the other day, back in March, and what a great facility. So nice shot there, again off the gardens where a few people are relaxing. And that's where we had the party last night, a great barbecue. And there was two guys that were doing flame juggling. It was quite spectacular.
Well, very spectacular.
It was in the night, it looked great. And there was another lady who did extraordinary things with a silver ring. You know, I'm not quite sure what that's called, but it was very athletic anyway.
Well, we have the green light at the end of pit lane, and let's go to our team in Studio B. It's over to Bruce Jones and Johnny Palmer.
We're in the Global Broadcast Centre here on the Radio Show Limited network of channels. Great thanks to Andrew Marriott and Phil Anson for the first two segments of qualifying for the 19th edition of the Dubai 24 Hours. It's very gracious of them, Bruce, to almost offer us the best part of this qualifying event, because this is where the big guns are unleashed for 3 segments of 15 minutes. A perfect time of the day as well, 10 to 5. Sunset's going to be about 6 o'clock tonight, so that beautiful light that you get here at this time of day at Dubai Autodrome, and some terrific GT3 cars.
Absolutely packed. That view from pit out, looking all the way up the pit lane, the cars look fantastic in the lowering light, but a great field. We have to thank our lucky stars for getting a Dubai 24 Hours at all this year. Moved back 2 weeks because of the problems down the Red Sea, but we're here, and of course it follows straight on from the Abu Dhabi 6 Hours, and at the end of last year the Kuwait 12 Hours. So that's all part of its own championship. More of that later, but right now 3 15-minute qualifying sessions, 1 driver for each of these sessions. No tyre changes allowed. It's just quickly get on the track, lay your laps down. This is what GT racing to me is all about. I like quick fire qualifying. It's a 24-hour race. Qualifying is just part of it, but right here, right now, let's celebrate some great cars that have been brought here by some tip-top teams. It's very, very interesting to see what sort of lap times we can get down to. We've heard drivers, Johnny, talking about the track being a little bit slippery, a little bit dusty. Hey, I came here first back in 2005, the same year as Phil was talking about there, and it was much, much dusty there because it was effectively on the edge of the desert. It was out on its own. More and more buildings have come in. That has actually reduced the amount of dust, but it's always going to be a factor here.
The other thing about a 24-hour race is that it's always a combined effort. Some teams are going with 3 drivers, most with 4, although there are a lot with 5 as well. And the nice thing about this relatively new qualifying concept is that you have to utilise 3 drivers. That's how it was done in the previous 2 groups of sessions. And because of that, you're also left waiting till the final session to determine what the average is, a 3-lap average from each of those 15-minute sessions. So whoever's quickest in this, that's only 1/3 of the job done.
No, exactly so. And if you want, wherever you are in the world, to keep in touch with exactly what's happening, obviously you can watch the images, but also if you go to the 24H series website, there is a live timing page as well. And on that, you can see the first qualifying session time get put down, the second and the third. But alongside, importantly, we've got the average time as it accrues through those sessions. So waiting for that first flying lap to be completed. But hereinafter, the times will really work out in a very, very obvious way. But just remember, 23 cars going out to play in this fastest session of the lot for the GT3 runners. 16 turns around the laps, 5.39 kilometres. But one of the best things to me about this circuit, Johnny, it isn't just the long infield straight, it's the variety of corners, and there is gradient change. To me, a track without gradient change really doesn't hold my interest at all, but here it really makes such a difference.
Only AM drivers permitted into this session then, and remember, I've talked about the combined effort. It also, depending on which drivers you have selected, which drivers have been able to take part in the Dubai 24 Hours in 2024, that then designates where you sit in the GT3 classification. It's not just straight GT3. There is a straight GT3 category, but there's also Pro-Am and AM. And even in the AM cars, you are allowed, I think it's one Pro, but no more than that. But this session, purely for the AMs, which will give us a good basis on how these drivers will do during their designated stints for the race itself. So Torsten Kratz, who's been plugged into the number 21 Audi of Haas RT, sets the marker pretty swiftly. No real surprise there. The man from Mönchengladbach is always very swift, whether he's in a GT3 car or something more potent like LMP3.
I think people on Twitter, formerly known as X, or the other way around, can be very cruel indeed. Yoda's uncle straight in there. Get the Code 60 flags ready. Jones and Palmer are broadcasting. The wheels are bound to come off. He's heard us before, Johnny.
Yeah, we do have a reputation, and certainly I built one quite early on in 2023, somehow managing to fashion yellow flags and Code 60s with the uttering of a few words. Let's try and cancel that out for 2024. I like the purple headlights on the Porsche weaving its way through this really difficult section of 3, 4, 5 and 6. That is the 95 car that has gone quickest with Sabino Di Castro, the Italian, for Manu Mauri Energy by Ebby Motors. So it's a UAE flag team, but Ebby Motors very Italian.
Yeah, and probably the most lurid colour scheme of the lot. Basically black, but with everything else thrown on. And as Johnny pointed out, those purple headlights, more of which later as the light starts to drop. This is the first of the 3 GT3 qualifying sessions. As you pointed out, this is for the AM runners, and we'll expect to see the times as their more experienced teammates come through and in sessions 2 and 3. But some good names in there. I suddenly noticed Martin Conrad, who seems to race everything all the time. He's racing the Asian Le Mans Series in 2023 into 2024. He's an AM in that setup. It goes to show the depth of talent. This isn't greenhorn AMs. This is some very, very experienced drivers. And at the moment, he's third fastest. Car number 9, which is definitely going to be a car featuring at the front end. It's the Get Speed Mercedes AMG. He's always in a Mercedes, or certainly for the past decade or so. Very, very safe pair of hands.
So Di Castro and Kratz having quite an arm wrestle right now. They're separated by, well, it was less than a tenth of a second. It's even less than that now as Torsten Kratz flips it around the other way. So he's just done a 2 minutes .018 second lap and a 2 minutes .072. So very, very tight margins indeed, just 600ths of a second, although that time now was Di Castro. Now Di Castro does hang on to the lap that he set, but the previous lap, the lap he's just completed, is slightly slower. Now there's a difficulty for one of the new Ferrari 296s. That's the 88 car that has spun at turn 14. Yes. Roll Goethe.
Yeah, I was really excited about seeing these 296 GT3s, but I've got to see the flank I'm not supposed to see. That's facing the wrong way. But yeah. Roll right now, well, the flags will be out, but he's down towards the tail end of the order, but needs to get going and not rejoin, as we saw some of the drivers in the previous session doing by not really looking very carefully where they were going. But Rolled, wise head, keeps the car completely off the track, kicks up the dust in the outfield, and now rejoins the circuit. But that is one of the very, very good things about the Dubai Autodrome, is simply there is a lot of runoff if you get things wrong. But as soon as you go beyond the white line at the edge of the circuit, you can see it's about 10 times as dusty. And what might be a slightly sideways moment can easily be tipped into a spin, but there is space to do so. And as we say that, the car that's fastest of all, the number 21 Audi with Torsten Kratz, went sideways over the white lines at the edge of the circuit, and a very, very good save. So How far do you push towards the edge of the track? There's the question.
The Rolls racing with two of his sons, Ben and Ollie Goethe, and also Stuart Hall, who's been a long-time partner, of course, with Roll Goethe, racing so many of his generally Golf livery cars, although that's in a Dragon Racing livery, the Ferrari 296 for this event. Jordan Groger, now with a UAE flag next to his name, but from South Africa originally, makes that a 5-driver lineup, and just the one pro. I was surprised to see Stewie Hall no longer listed as a pro, semi-pro on the Creventic list. That might be because he's reining back a fair bit of his competitive action, but keen to get his teeth into yet another Dubai 24 hours.
Well, he's just one of those fixtures. We've had him here for years, always does a sensationally good job. I was just looking to see if there's any age factor in that. No, he's south of 40, as you'd expect. I suddenly thought, you know, when you become 50, I'm not suggesting Stewie's about to turn 50, you suddenly become a bronze, which certainly can add to your driving repertoire, because then you're very, very much in demand as a quick, wise head.
One of the other Ferrari 296 is this in a very attractive eggshell blue with some red detailing down the side, is the number 6 of Marco Pulcini. He was setting the pace fairly early on, and that time does vault him, I think, further up the order. Car number 6 is 14th. Yeah.
Actually, it's quite a famous livery, that red with what I call Cambridge blue. Maranello concessionaires, of course, ran Colonel Ronnie Hall, ran in the early and mid-60s some of the best Ferraris in the sports car series of the time, and still in historic racing. If you see a car with that Cambridge blue nose on it, you know it's Maranello concessionaires. A lovely bow to history. But one livery we've seen for so long, absolute linchpin, backbone of the championship, CP Racing, the white with blue and red flashes on it. The Mercedes at the moment going around with Charles Espinal's 7th fastest, just over 2 minutes. In fact, the fastest lap is 2 minutes 0.018 seconds. That's still Torsten Kratz, the number 21 Haas RT Audi, but a lot of others very close indeed. In fact, the top 7 all within a second. Top 8. Mike Zhu is in 8th place, number 54, and so a lot of drivers very close indeed, but just expect when we get to the more experienced drivers coming in the second and third sessions, they will be even closer.
Now, with his 2 minutes 0.072 second lap, Sabino Di Castro has pitted, so with that he's conceded a potential pole position, but remember this is only one of 3 sessions, so as long as you're there or thereabouts, he's about 0.05 of a second slower than Torsten Kratz, who does continue to circulate in the Haas RT Audi R8 LMS. Antigua and Barbuda is the flag that is alongside Haas RT for this weekend. We're expected to be here with 2 cars.
Yeah, they had 20 and 21. Just number 21 is being run. But certainly Sandrine Haas, who I knew all the way back in her Formula 1 days when she's been in the paddock, you know, she runs a great team, and they've been a real addition. And we were talking before coming on air, Johnny, about the number of national flags. It's always the race that has the most national flags you'll ever find. And some years we have to really go to the International Book of Flags to find out where some of them are from. But for the Haas RT Audis have had the Antiguan flag on their roof for the last, since being introduced, and it really is a serious effort. That's where Sandrine is based, and her son does rallying over there as well, so plenty of motorsport history in and among there. But at the moment Sandrine will be smiling because Torsten Kratz fastest by a whisker, really, 0.3035 of a second.
So I'm sure a number of the cars that are setting the pace early on in this first qualifying session thinking we've really managed to wring as much performance out of these tyres as you possibly can. You're not allowed to change tyres at any point through these 3 sessions, though, so it's a delicate tightrope to be walking. You want obviously to leave some meat on them for Q2, and perhaps the fastest of the 3 sessions, Q3, but the tyre performance will need to be there.
Yeah, well, I think some of the cars will probably run a short session here to give more time and more tyre life to the second and third drivers who will take it over. As you pointed out, 1 set of tyres is all you're allowed to use. One driver who I expect to pick his way up the order, Darren Long, who's been racing very, very strong, a race winner in British GT last year, in several rounds, and he's only 12th in his BMW, but he was a real surprise last year. Came into the British GT Championship with a massive bag in his first full season, and so look for that one through the course of the weekend.
5 of the top 6 cars are now in the pit lane. Torsten Kratz joins Sabino Di Castro and Sven Herberger. So it's 2 Audi R8 LMS teams that are first and second. Haas RT and Santilloc Junior team. We've not talked a great deal about that famous French squad, but Sven Herberger doing a 2 minutes .053 to be second. And now in the pit lane, Sabino Di Castro was one of the first to pit for Manamauri Energy by Ebby Motors and their Porsche. Of course, it is being Ebby Motors. Lippert Motorsport still out on track though, and Alban Varuti in the number 63 Lamborghini Huracan might have a chance of squeezing into that top 3 in the closing minute, but then 3 more cars behind that are in the pits are the Huber Motorsport Porsche number 50, the number 9 Get Speed Mercedes of Martin Conrad, and the number 7 Dustin Blackner driven number 96 Porsche of Car Collection Motorsport.
I nearly had the confidence to say it without checking my notes, but I did check my notes. And Darren Lung, I thought he did well last year. I was right about the 2 wins. He was actually the champion with Dan Harper. I knew shared with Dan, but I didn't want to say he was champion if he wasn't. But anyhow, that's been looked up. And bearing in mind, Darren only started his racing in 2021 in Ginettas. He just came on in massive leaps and bounds. So Century Motorsport running a couple of cars here. Carl Cabers, who's stepping up to GT3 in 2024. He's out on the track at the moment, number 22. BMW M4 GT3, and Carl is down in 14th position, just a couple of positions down on Darren Lung, but as expected, quite a lot of the drivers in this first session, well, the flag's going to come out any moment now in the next few seconds, already came in with 2 or 3 minutes to go just to save a bit of tyre life. Probably felt as the AM driver they were less likely to find time by doing one further lap. They probably plateau quite quickly, and it's all about being safe and handing the car over because it has to run in all 3 of the sessions.
The other thing is that in an AM-only session, you can almost throw out the suffix of AM, Pro-Am, or one being absent, as in GT3 solo, because actually that order's been inverted for the what looking like the results for qualifying 1, because it's a GT3 AM Audi that is fastest, courtesy of Torsten Kratz, a Pro-Am car that is second fastest, and for the fastest GT3, without the Pro and the Am bit at the end, you've got to look down to 6th position and Martin Conrad's Get Speed Mercedes. That will all change, of course, quite possibly in the next 15-minute qualifying session as a Lamborghini exits the final right-hander, which is turn 16. It is the Lamborghini, is it not? Number 63, and goes fastest. Alban Varuti, leaving it very, very late. 0.003 of a second for the Frenchman to snatch the provisional pole position for Lippert Motorsport.
Well, he was building up to that. As you pointed out, he stayed out while others were pitting early, but he really worked that very, very hard indeed. So, advantage his by 0.003 of a second. 2 more qualifying sessions to come, so it'll be a brave person who puts their neck out now and goes, oh, I think that'll stay on pole come the end of GT3 qualifying. I think we're going to have an awful lot of change in the 2 15-minute sessions coming up. But neat, tidy, 1 spin was all we had, and plenty of space for Roel Goethe to get his Dragon Racing Ferrari pointed the right way, and he was very careful as he rejoined the track, so a pat on the back there for Roald.
Well, we know almost for certain that Gabriele Rindoni will not be in that Lamborghini Huracan. I suppose he could go out in qualifying too, but when you've got Brendan Leach, who is eligible, being a semi-pro for Q2, I would expect the Kiwi to be next, and then they will leave their secret weapon of Marco Mappelli for the final session. So that car, courtesy of Alban Varuti's AM lap, has really put itself in the box seat for pole position at the 2024 edition, the 19th running of the Hankook Dubai 24 Hours. But those associated with the 21 Audi of Haas RT will be shaking their fists, I'm sure, right now, saying, no, we're definitely in it, because the fastest lap time is a 2 minutes .015. The second fastest time, a 2 minutes .018. So there really is nothing in it at all. Sven Herberger is a tad slower at a further, 0.03 of a second off the pace of Torsten Kratz. And Sabino Di Castro, the early pace setter in the number 95 Porsche of Manamauri Energy, 4th position currently.
Now, one thing we didn't really talk about, we talked about the Lamborghini that went fastest, Audi's in second and third, Porsches galore, Mercedes galore, BMW's down in the middle order, a McLaren or 2, but we didn't really mention the fact it was a Bentley, a Continental GT3 racing there, Team Parker Racing, long-time Bentley fans, but this is Joe Wheeler, Rob Huff, the inimitable, excellent Rob Huff, 2 Lins, Sean, father, son Max, and of course brother Alex is competing in that other D24 this weekend over in Daytona. So a busy time, but at the moment Sean was down towards the tail of the field, just ahead of Roald Goethe, but we'll see how that progresses up the order. But certainly Alban Veruti does deserve, as he climbs out of the Light Motorsport Lamborghini, a real pat there. Did a very, very good job handing over. Just have to see who's going to get into that emerald green and black Lamborghini next, into that Huracan.
Yeah, just going back to your point about the Bentley, it'd be interesting to track the heritage of that car because, well, M Sport built one in 2014 for competition in that year, and then there was a revamped version 4 years later. So I'd imagine it was the second generation. But what success has that car had in the past? I'm sure plenty of it, because they were always in their kind of early years, they achieved quite a lot of good results.
Oh, they really did. When I started doing the GT World Challenge, when it was called the Blancpain World Challenge back then, GT Racing Series, the Bentleys were right at the front end, run by HTP Motorsport, likes of Maximilian Buch, Vincent Abril at the wheel. But as much as anything, they just made people smile because they just didn't look like racers. They seemed so much larger, but you got up close, like anything that's a silhouette, you know, what's within is actually remarkably similar from manufacturer to manufacturer. But I remember meeting a load of Bentley fans who drove their Bentleys down all the way to Monza in convoy, staying in nice hotels to go and watch the racing, and went back. And I just like the fact that people have that sort of brand, mark allegiance, and go and have really good weekends. I had a couple of mates I was at school with, and their family was Jaguar through and through. And back in the 1980s, they'd follow the XJSs all around Europe in the European Touring Car Championship, and they were just good days. But you forget sometimes that people do make an enormous effort to go racing, but the race is just part of their weekend, and I think that really does give them a chance to drive their cars on fantastic European roads. So why not?
They are cars that capture the imagination, certainly, and along with obviously, you know, filling existing Bentley fans with a great deal of enthusiasm. Also, you're going to create more, aren't you? More fans of cars that you know, they put pictures of them on their bedroom walls, and to see them for real, bringing back a real heritage racing mark for the first time in such a long time. I remember the stories when that car won the 3 hours at Silverstone, the M Sport version. That was a win after about 80 years or something. It was a real story at the time, and as you say, then it really gathered momentum. And to see Bentley Continentals around the Nürburgring Nordschleife, I remember too, phenomenal. Anyway, we digress enough, because already we are seeing cars heading out onto the track for qualifying 2. The Bentley is amongst them. Hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with Alban Veruti, if not in the next few minutes towards the end of the session, or indeed we've got 24 hours of the race to get his opinion on that well-timed lap as well. Now, whether that was by accident or totally by design, the team will tell you, oh, no, we had that plan from the start of the day to be one of the last cars out on track. Well, it was crucial in the end.
The driver who's the second one into that number 131 Team Parker Racing Bentley Continental is Joe Wheeler, young British GT racer, 2 years in Ginetta Juniors. That was 20 and 21, 22, 23 in the GT4 class. So he's stepping up to GT3 at this early point in the 2024 season, and what a great car to do it in. So we'll see how he progresses. But right now, the vast majority of the field, this 23-car GT3 field, as part of the 19th Dubai 24 hours, pretty much all on the circuit, just waiting for the last, probably about 10 more still to come out, but they're finding their space out on the track. But again, 23 cars, a great field of GT3 runners, but they've got space to play, but they don't have a lot of time to play. We only have 12.5 minutes in this second of the 3 qualifying sessions for GT3 to go. So find a space on the track, get a feel for the amount of grip or the lack of grip accordingly. But remember, you've got slightly less tyre life than the drivers who went in session 1 would have had. You have slightly more tyre life than those who go in the third of the sessions.
But the thing that goes in your favour is that no fuel could have been put in the car in that interval, so they are slightly lighter, I suppose. The Bentley, in its real period of success, was always well known for being pretty light on its feet, because it's a big car in terms of its footprint, and therefore tyre wear was relatively limited across a stint. I don't know how it fared within qualifying when you're really pushing like crazy, though.
yeah, famously, it was a car that drivers felt very, very comfortable in GT3 racing trim, and I must say they always look really nicely balanced, but they still draw enormous attention in the paddock because for some reason people just don't think that's what Bentley do, but that's what Bentley has always done. That's the very point. Right at the start, W.O. Bentley wasn't impressed, didn't think when they headed to Le Mans when it started in the 1920s that was the place they should be, but when they did so well in the first one and then started winning thereafter, he suddenly changed his mind on the matter. Anyhow, that's enough about Bentleys at the moment. Brendan Leach is the driver, the Kiwi who's taken over the car that was fastest in Q1, which is car number 63, the Lamborghini in the traditional Lamborghini green and black livery from Lippert Motorsport. He took over after Alban Veruti went fastest, and we'll find out if it be Gabriele Rindoni or Marco Mappelli who does the third sector qualifying session in that car. At the moment, the fastest lap is a 2-minute 0.015, set by that number 63 Lamborghini by Alban Veruti. Let's wait and see who's going to be first driver into the 1-minute 59s and how low will they go.
So the early feeling of current conditions, the track will be, well, getting towards its grippiest in qualifying, of course, and the good thing about this series is that everyone is on effectively the same control Hankook rubber. You get different wheel sizes, different wheel widths as well, but it's all the same Hankook makeup, so that's good in terms of more rubber going down onto a dusty racetrack. And the pros may well find after their out lap and then just a feeler lap that yes, there's plenty of grip out there as the temperature just starts to ease away as well. And mind you, the temperature will stay in the track for quite some time yet, even though we are worming our way towards sunset, which is in little over 30 minutes time.
Well, the sun's already dropping. The track was in sunshine at the start of this session. The long shot down the pit lane, of qualifying session 1 for the GT3s, and already the sun has dropped behind the buildings. The buildings that Andrew mentioned back in the first decade of the 21st century. You had open desert, you had scrubby desert, then you had a start of a building, and then you had a whole new suburb thrown up, and certainly there's a lot more of concrete to block out the light. It looks though number 6 Ferrari is going to go to the top of the pile, just waiting for that to come through. That's the Racing 1 car, the Cambridge blue and red version of the 296 GT3. Thierry Vermeulen, young Dutch racer, working very, very hard indeed, and of course tied in with the Verstappen family. His father is Max's manager. And Thierry started to score some really good, strong results last year.
The number 6 car of Thierry Vermeulen then, fastest and courtesy of an absolute best through Sector 1 and Sector 3. Now, not known driver in the number 17, I notice, not showing up on at least GetRaceResults.com. So we'll try and get to the bottom of who's piloting the 17 car, which is just dropping a couple of spots down the order. It's the MRS GT Racing Porsche, and there may well have been a late change as far as the entry list is concerned there. In the Lumirank number system that is displayed as you look at the car in the top left corner of the windscreen. I suppose it depends on which side the driver is a lot of the time, but most of the time you'll see it flashing as you look at the car top left, and 001 is the number that flashes, together with a short code for that particular driver. Meanwhile, as Vermeulen continues to circulate in his Racing 1 Ferrari 296, we have Audi's first and second, courtesy of Elia Earhart and Thomas Kiefer. So that will be done on the average lap time, but it's certainly helped by Elia Earhart's 1:59.898 in this qualifying session. So in the number 18 Pro-Am car for Santilok Junior team, the number 18's initial time set by Sven Herberger, one of the other Germans associated to the French crew Santilok Junior team. Elia Earhart is an AM+, and surely they'll be holding Pierre Caffer back for the final qualifying session in the number 18 car. So the Pro-Am lineup all of a sudden looks very, very strong. I was talking about the AM number 21 car of Haas RT. and also the car that topped the session earlier on of Alban Varuti. And he left it very, very late indeed to top qualifying 1, but things are changing again with now an Audi fastest, a Porsche second fastest, another Audi third quickest. The best Ferrari is that Racing 1 car in the famous livery, the Cambridge Blue, number 6 of Thierry Vermeulen, who initially set the pace in this session, Bruce.
Yep, sitting there in 5th place. So only the one runner under 2 minutes. Now we have 2. As soon as you say something, Dominic Baumann just picked up the pace. That's car number 9, which is Team Get Speed, and pushing on very hard indeed in their sort of bright orangey red AMG Mercedes. Looks fantastic. Very plain livery on that, but in some ways plain liveries can stand out rather more than the fancier ones. But Dominic Baumann up into what we called 2nd, but we now call 3rd because of the new fastest lap. Elliot Earhart's improved from Thomas Kiefer in the Haas RT Audi, number 21, fleetingly into 1st place. His windscreen light is still saying 001, but when he gets the next timing sector, that'll go back to 002, because number 18 Audi is at the top of the charts now. Young German racer Elliot Earhart pushing on very nicely indeed in that.
5 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Quite a lot of lateral movement, I noticed, on the rear wing there of number 18, the Audi, which is Elliot Earhart. They won't be too concerned about that, though, because it's a very quick car. He's just gone quicker again, in fact, with a 1:59.346, so that brings the average down a further 10th or so. It's the only car on the averages that is a sub-2 minute time so far. It's a 1:59.699 to be exact, and now is joined, in fact, by the 95 Porsche of Manamauri Energy. So Sergei Nikolai, the Romanian driver, is down into the 1:59s as well, and both down into the 1:59s within this session too. Don Baumann's not too far away from their pace. In fact, Baumann, if he took the times purely from this session, would sit between Earhart and Nikolai. But Baumann, well, it's the earliest time for Martin Conrad, not exactly costly, but it means that because Conrad wasn't quite as quick as the 18 Audi and the 95 Porsche, the Don Baumann-driven car is only 5th. Make that 4th, though, now, as the Austrian goes even quicker, 1:59.630.
Looking very, very handy indeed. I must say, 23 cars, good number for the circuit here. There does seem to be plenty of space. Drivers aren't tripping over each other. It's just under 4 minutes in this 15-minute session to go. This is the middle of 3 for the GT3 runners. Different driver in each of the sessions. So it does mean some of the crews with a 5-driver lineup can put at least 2 of them on getting the barbecue fired up for the end of the session and all that follows. There's still night practice later here at Dubai, getting ready ahead of the race that will kick off tomorrow, but it's certainly getting tighter and tighter at the top. The very quickest beneath 2 minutes flat, Elliot Earhart now in the pits. That car is the quickest of the lot. That's the Santalok Junior Team Audi, black with bright green flashes all over the nose, the flanks and the rear wing. But their average, of course it's combined with the first session time, is just on top by 0.231 of a second ahead of Brendan Leach now in the car that was fastest in the first session, the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini. And over the years, Johnny, we've had Lamborghinis go so well in this race, but they've never reaped the rewards. Always something happens. And you remember about 5 or 6 years ago, they were having all those tyre failures just at a certain temperature, certain time of the day, and they just were going down. Plenty of speed. Maybe, just maybe, a car that's not German might have a chance of winning this year. Could it be a Ferrari? Yes. Could it be a Lamborghini? Yes. Let's find out.
I suppose the cynics would say that with the Lamborghini there's quite a bit of German engineering integrated within that, although the connection with the Audi R8 and the 5.2 V10 less so now. Lamborghini actually making their own engines, although I think it's still to a Germanic design, if you like. Briefly then, Brendan Leach went 2nd fastest in the session, but he's beaten once more by Dennis Marshall in the 96 Porsche for Car Collection Motorsport. So within the session, Don Baumann is now fastest in the number 9 Mercedes from Get Speed. His time 1:59.630, and pretty close behind, about a 10th and a bit, 10th and a half, let's say. Slower is Dennis Marshall as Don Baumann now pits, in fact. Brendan Leach back up to 2nd fastest. So there's 1 or 2 things happening with lap times being deleted quite possibly as well.
The fastest lap in the session was a 1 minute 59.3. That has been removed.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? Yeah.
But we've still got 4 drivers listed with times under 2 minutes. No, we don't, because some of those have just subsequently been taken away. We've got 2 drivers who are credited as going between under 2 minutes flat.
The massive issue now for Dominic Baumann is that he has just pitted, and the time that stands from earlier on in the session is still there. So Elliot Earhart 159.346, Brendan Leach with a 159.594, Ben Goethe in the 88 car, which is the best of the GT3s now, so without the Pro-Am and the Ambit afterwards, at the 88 Ferrari that was earlier spinning in the hands of Ben's father, rolled right in the mix now.
Yeah, so we've actually got 8 drivers who've now done laps below 2 minutes without having them taken away. But Benjamin Goethe's in the pit, so he's not going to improve. We've got 45 seconds remaining on the clock. That car is still at the bottom of the charts, but it's a shame because certainly Benjamin had plenty of pace. What I really love is when you get Benjamin and his brother Olivier being interviewed together, because they just spark off each other. You know, junior Goethe's got their eyes on the big prize, but you know, I can just imagine if I was there competing against my brother, the sibling rivalry would be massive, so why not? Always adds a little frisson of interest.
Dennis Marshall still circulating, and he pilots a quick car, 159.767. His teammate did a 2.689, 2 minutes .689, so Marshall's number 96, all white, well, with a bit of red bumper to add in there. Number 96 car is currently 6th quickest, as Elliot Earhart leads the sessions, plural. He did not top Q1. Fastest in that was the 63 Lamborghini Huracan for Alban Veruti, but since then, Elliot Earhart setting the 159.3, 2.5 tenths quicker than Brendan Leach in this session in his Lamborghini of Lippert Motorsport, and the Dragon Racing Ferrari of Benji Goethe, 3rd fastest. When you combine all the times, and the checkered flag is now being displayed because the clock is at 0, then the 18 Audi R8 LMS from Santilok Junior Team are fastest by about a tenth, basically, over that 63 Lamborghini Huracan.
Yeah, there was one driver who wasn't identified early in the session, just to be completed. It was James Winslow, because we were looking for someone to be in that number 17 MRS GT Racing Porsche, and it's James who's sharing with Alexander Bukantsov. John Corbett, he and James have shared lots of cars, particularly P3 class cars over the years, and George King as the quartet for number 17. But for them, disappointingly, they're just outside the top 20 in 21st position out of the 23. So Santilok Racing take the bragging rights at the moment, but certainly first at the end of the first session, 2nd overall after the 2nd session. The Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini, it's been a very well done job from them.
Yeah, and a lot of the time it's about riding the crest of the wave, I suppose, not trying to be the hero in any one particular qualifying session, but make sure that you grab that important word, which is consistency, because I'm sure it's possible to get a pole position without actually being fastest in any of the 3 sessions. But at the moment, Elliot Earhart hopes that's not the case, and likewise Brendan Leach with his teammate Alban Veruti hopes that their 3rd drivers can be quickest, because the 18 car quickest in Q2 and the 63 car of the Lamborghini, so an Audi quickest in the second qualifying, in the first qualifying session, so second qualifying session, and a Lamborghini Huracan of Lippert Motorsport for Brendan Leach in Q2, but his teammate Alban Veruti in Q1 was quickest on that occasion.
I think when you look at the 2 drivers who will probably be tossing a coin as we speak to see who goes out for the 3rd session in that Lamborghini, look, Gabriele Brindone, really fast, and Marco Mappelli knows everything there is to know about Lamborghini Huracans. They have to be in the pound seat at the moment, or choose your currency accordingly. But so they're 2nd fastest overall. 1 15-minute session still to come. The pit lane is a busy place. The Wise teams have brought their 2nd driver in relatively early to give a little bit more time. Next session should be underway in 3 minutes' time. So very little turnaround time. 23 cars will go out to play. 5.39 kilometre track, plenty of space to keep out the way if you feel that way inclined, but it's getting tight at the top. Just over 1/10 of a second between first and second, another 1.7 seconds back to third place, and that's the number 95 Porsche, third overall, and that's from Manamari Energy by Ebby Motors, and Ebby Motors sure know how to run a good Porsche across the last decade and more.
So, I mean, it's not exactly an outside bet to say that the 18 crew of Santilok Junior Team, they've surely held back Pierre Caffert for this third qualifying session. And Marco Mappelli, I fancy, in the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini. Slightly more up in the air regarding Manamari Energy by Ebby Motors, although Cosimo Papi, I don't know a great deal about. He's sort of the extra into the 95 crew and is a semi-pro as well. So joining the regulars of Fabrizio Broggi, Sabino Di Castro and Sergei Nicolai in the Ebby Motors crew with their backer Manamari Energy for this event.
Yeah, Cosimo Papi doesn't have a lot of experience. 2022 he raced in Italian Clio Cup. Last year he raced in Italian GT in the GTC class for Ebby Motors, but you know he'll be gaining experience as he goes. But the one I'm looking for, I don't think we talk too much about it, is that Get Speed Mercedes, because the driver who'll go in third is Fabian Schiller. Was supposed to be Luca Stoltz. Luca can't be in two places, very talented as he is, he can't be in two places at once. He had to choose to go to Daytona, but Fabian Schiller's been racing Mercedes AMGs for a long time with great success.
Let's catch up with Elliot Earhart now with in the pit lane.
Elliot, sterling job there in the Audi. You're obviously getting even more and more comfortable with this car.
Yeah, I like the car a lot. I drive since 2017 in the Audi. Yeah, I know it a lot. And we have a new team with Santilok. They did an amazing job. The car is very, very good. And also my teammates did a very good job. Sven with P2 and now with P1. Let's see what Pierre can do. And yeah, it's a 24-hour race, long time to go. But the car is still good and fine. And yeah, I'm happy at the moment.
More smiling racing drivers, we like that. When you can say P1, that helps you smile. But you're the first driver to get the average down to 1:59 under the 2 minutes, and then the top three of that. So the car obviously dialed in, nice and cool this time of night.
Yeah, the car is very good at this point. When it's even getting hot, we don't know, but we will see what happens. It's a long race, I told you, yeah. And yeah, we saved the tire for the qualifying, just do 2 or 3 laps, and yeah, that's it. And now I hope that Pierre can fix it.
Yeah, but of course it's even cooler for Pierre's run now, so it's not going to necessarily go quicker than you, is he?
It's colder, but there are so much cars on the track. Let's see. In 15 minutes, we know more.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Thank you.
Elliot Earhart, very professional driver and always a good laugh as well when he steps out of the car, takes his racing seriously, but you are guaranteed an entertaining interview. Peter Snowden on duty there. Diana Binks and Chris Milbourne are our pit lane reporters for this year's running of the Dubai 24 Hours. We're powered by Hankook and you're tuned to the Radio Show Limited network of channels. It has become a very busy weekend on the network, the final weekend of January. Normally always reserved for one particular 24-hour race, but not this one. And for circumstances that you may well know about, this has had to be delayed by a couple of weekends. In the meantime, we've had a 6 hours of Abu Dhabi won by Car Collection Motorsport. So is that an indication as to who might do well in the following weekend? Normally they run the other way around, of course, Dubai then to Yas Marina for the 6 hours, but that had stayed exactly where it was planned to be, and instead, not only here on RSL, but also for you, the consumer, if you like, we've got to get through 2 24-hour races within the same weekend.
Well, the Radio Show Network, around 60 hours of racing coming to you this weekend. We're like magicians. We can cram a corpse into a pint pot. Well, if we can't, we'll give it a very good go. One thing, we just heard from Elliot Earhart, 35-year-old German, who has put his crew to the top of the chart, number 18 crew at the moment. But just quickly looking through his history, I wanted to check when he first competed in the Dubai 24 Hours. Answer to that question was 2015. But to show the passage of the growth of GT3, 3 years earlier, he was in the City Challenge in Baku, long before we got to Azerbaijani Grand Prix.
We're going to catch up with CP Racing and Shane Lewis chatting to Snowy.
Well, more importantly, Shane, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, we need to get social matters out of the way first, and of course, it's the Sideburn Challenge, isn't it, from Estoril last year? How's that going?
Well, it wasn't so much of a challenge. It's just all the big 24-hour races that I've won happened to have them, so I figured it's time to bring them back.
There's no connection, you think? So that's what actually got them nice and bushy now, ready for Dubai.
Yeah, started it winning the Daytona 24-hour with them. I got rid of them, came back, won the Nürburgring, took them off. I said, you know, if we want to do this race again, I'm not superstitious, by the way, but the crew is, and so they said bring them back.
No, it's important the fans know these things. So anyway, more mundane matters. The car, how's it going?
It's okay. You know, our car's changing dramatically with temperature and sun. So, you know, we have one car, we keep the setup the same, I'm going to be honest. We got like 2 different race cars. So we know that we need to keep the car coming to us at nighttime. We know that's important because it's a long night here. You know, once it comes here, it's a very, very long night. So we got to have that car. But right now, we got to figure out how to also get us a good car in the daytime. So that's what we've been working on, and it's really tough because now it's qualifying. Yeah, we have night practice, but we really want a strategy of what we can do to get us a 24-hour race car.
And operationally, how is the Mercedes at night in the cool?
It's good. No, the Mercedes is really good at nighttime. Kind of a light situation. We don't have what I would call the best lights. Some of the other cars, they've upgraded things and re-homologated their light package.
I do not feel any pain for it compared to the lights I used to drive.
You feel a little pain.
Get away with it.
Just a little pain. So we'd like a little bit more lights. Now, I understand there's some new lights around the racetrack. I've seen a couple of videos. I haven't seen it at nighttime. Hopefully that'll help a little more in the Apex stuff.
Shane, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the race.
Shane Lewis of CP Racing back with their tried and tested Mercedes then, and great to see that out on track a little earlier on. I'm sure it's returned to the circuit for this final session. There were 1 or 2 stragglers, including Pierre Caffer, who has only just gone out of the pit lane then for his qualifying. And again, a couple of drivers, well, one driver that's not yet been identified. It's that pesky number 17 again. So I wonder whether there have been some last-minute changes once more within car 17. But the early pace being set by Mathieu Detry, the Belgian racer for Audi R8 LMS, and that number 21 car on the combined efforts at least. Now, hang on a minute, let me just reorder everything. Yes, Detry fastest so far in Q3, but on the average times, well, we need cars, of course, to start setting third fastest time. So strictly speaking, it is Mathieu Detry who is fastest, but we haven't yet had a time from the Santilot Racing Audi.
If I may, I'll just go back. This is something that Snowy will appreciate in the pit lane. As soon as I saw Shane Lewis with those fabulous sideburns, I took it as a tribute to rugby great JPR Williams, the man who championed sideburns around the world. So thank you very much, Shane. You may not be a fan of rugby, but I appreciated the job there.
There's a message on the screen now saying that all the cars must put their lights on. That's an indication that sunset is officially 24 minutes away, because it is 5:35. Sunset a minute before 6 this evening. A very, very long night. And so often the Dubai 24 hours and the Daytona 24 hours compete for their numbers of hours/minutes of darkness. I wonder how that compares now that they're being held on the same weekend.
Oh, I could have thrown it. There'll be statisticians around the world sitting in their sheds trying to work it all out. Just want to point out, a great move so far. It was fastest in session. It is still fastest in session by a tiny fraction as Oliver Goethe, but it's only moved his car up to 15th place. Remember, that was the number 88 Dragon Racing Ferrari. And unfortunately, the 2 previous sessions didn't go too well, but that's hunting its way up the order, but now has to find quite a chunk of time, because the average for that car is 2.5 seconds down on the overall average, so he's not going to claw that back across the 3, but he's doing a good job at the moment. Average under 2 minutes overall. Marco Mappelli was the 3rd driver into the number 63 Lamborghini from Leipert Motorsport, and he's done what it said on the tin. He's gone to the very top of the charts. I said look out for Fabian Schiller. He's got that Get Speed Mercedes up into 2nd place overall. So Mathieu Detry for Haas RT in the Audi was top. No longer. It's Lamborghini, Mercedes, and now Audi. Then Porsche with Cosimo Papi in what was fleeting 1 position. Pierre Caffer's now upset the entire Apple cart and gone to the very top of the chart. So the times will keep on changing. And look out for Giacomo Altoe. For me, I go Giacomo Altoe, Lamborghini. That's what he's raced over the years. He's now in a Ferrari, so I'll have to learn to adjust to that one. These drivers, honestly.
As you say, Pierre Caffer very solid in the number 18 Audi, but by no stretch of the imagination is he quickest across the 3 sessions so far, because this session is yet to get beneath the 2-minute marker. So Elliot Earhart's best time from qualifying 2 was a 1:59.3. Pierre Caffer's just done a 2 minutes .024. So needing to find, and I'm sure will find, about another 7 tenths and quite possibly another 8 or 9 tenths before this session is done. So, but it's going against what I was suggesting, in that as the track marginally cools but more significantly gets more grippy, that's not being told in the times just yet. As Marco Mappelli goes across the line and gets within a whisker of going beneath the 1:59s, because that's a 2 minutes .006, although he was massively off the track coming out of turn 15 and on the exit of turn 16, the final corner that brings you onto the main straight. And going even quicker than that now, the bloke that you mentioned, Bruce, Fabian Schiller in the all-red Get Speed Mercedes. So the German doing a 1:59.893, and as far as the averages is concerned, that will bring the number 9 car up to 3rd fastest.
Yeah, it was fleetingly second down to 3rd. That was with Pierre Caffer improving in the number 18 Audi. One driver who I expect to set a quick time, but at the moment his car is still bottom of the charts, is Ricardo Feller, 99, a Tempo Racing driver. He's been fantastic in GT3 for the past 3 or 4 seasons, and his car is stone last, but of course it'll stay there, not according to his pace. Particularly it's those that went before didn't set great times. He has actually just picked his way up the order a little bit, but he's gone up to 13th place, up to pretty much midfield in GT3, but it's he's got to find another 1.4 seconds to chop off the average, and so I don't think he's going to manage to do that. We have 5 minutes precisely remaining in this session.
Oliver Goethe now quickest with a 1:59.702, and with the combined times,
it's 21st, only 2 cars
really
behind him. I said he was going really fast from the outset of the session, but his father's spin in the first session in their Ferrari for Dragon Racing did not help, and then Benjamin, his brother, picked up the pace but only managed to chip away a few tenths here or there. But really for Oliver Goethe, it's all about pride, but that's the best time of Q3 so far.
Concentrating on the number 50 Porsche of Jason Hart, American driver for Huber Motorsport in their traditional paint scheme. So the very smart looking red, almost orangey red for the Huber car number 911, Porsche 911 GT3R. There are a couple of generations of 911 GT3s in this GT3 allocation. So the 991 Gen 2, sported by Salasin by Cox Racing for Family Cox amongst others. And also MRS GT Racing's car number 17 that George King is currently at the wheel of. And George has set a 2:01.188.
Pierre Caffer, his car is fastest. It's the number 18 Santalot Racing Audi that we saw set great pace in that first session. Elio Earhart going top in the second session. His car still top, but he's visited the pits. He's still in the pits. When he comes out, there'll only be 3.5 minutes maximum left on the time, because that's what's left on the clock. 15 minutes is no time at all when you go out in qualifying, but clearly Pierre, with all his decades of experience, has decided, okay, there is a change I can make. I'll have enough time to come back, but then I've got to nail it. You've got to have that confidence. But right now, his car, the number 18 Audi, top of the charts.
Let's catch this from Peter Snowden.
Bruce saying there, of course, about the Pierre Caffer car staying in the pits. Well, that's exactly where it is going to be staying for this session. Pierre Caffer exited as quickly as he could and made a signal that he did not want to talk, which he normally is completely the opposite. They've had a look, mechanics or technicians had a look through the engine cover, and there's something either engine-related or left rear suspension. But I can tell you now, this number 18 Audi isn't taking any further part in this session, I can assure you of that. I will try and find out before the end of the session what's caused that problem, but say Mr. Caffer wasn't too keen on divulging at the moment.
Well, thanks very much, Snowy. And the thing there, he's only sitting on a margin of, 0.6064 of a second, 64 hundredths of thousandths of a second. That's nothing over Marco Mappelli's number 63 Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini. And what sort of lap times are coming in? Pretty good lap times from the Italian. Don't discount Fabian Schiller as well, the number 9 Mercedes from Get Speed. That's also pressing on there. Normally able to lap under 2 minutes, but a lot of times still being taken away from these drivers for exceeding track limits. And let's hope that doesn't ruin a good lap for any of the front runners.
He may change his tune a little bit, Pierre Caffer, once he looks at the latest average times, but maybe he is fully aware of something far bigger than that, because he can't wring the performance out of the Audi as he would have been expecting. He should be notably quicker than Elliot Earhart, but as I say, just about within a second of Elia's time. But bear in mind that will be on fairly worn tyres, although a nice light car now that the fuel load has burned off, and I'm sure that those at Santilot Racing had expected to do a few more laps within qualifying 3, because as Bruce Jones has mentioned, they are now under threat for this pole position time. Even just a front row start would be good enough. And Marco Mappelli has actually pitted now, so he got down to a 2 minutes .006. Not as fast in this session as Ollie Goethe and Mathieu Detry, and indeed Chris Haase, who's just popped up into 3rd position in this session in the number 54 Estelent Racing Team's Audi. Get speed, as we've mentioned, Fabian Schiller going very quickly as well. Snowy might well have found a little bit more about this Santilot Audi, though.
Yeah, Johnny, indeed I have, and I've got Seb, our cameraman here. Seb, if you can have a look at these wheels here, you may think this is by numbers. This is for idiots, pit lane reporting. These wheels need to go round and round this way. They also need to turn, and this car has a distinct lack of doing that at the moment. There's a serious steering issue, which is why Mr. Caffer did not look very amused at trying to trap this car around Dubai Autodrome. That is the issue, so it's over and done. It looks like they're on pole position. I think Elliot Earhart was just saying that it's for Mappelli's in the pit as well, so nearly done now. So I think they're going to hold pole, but they do need to get their steering sorted. It's something you really kind of want on a racing car. Call me old-fashioned.
We shall call you old-fashioned. I'll also say the clock has now run down. The checkered flag coming out after the end of the 3rd of the 15-minute sessions. And for our timing screen, it's still got the number 18 Audi at the top of the table. Would anybody put in a flying final lap to topple them? But we've certainly had Mathieu Detry getting closer. So that's 3 cars under an average of 2 minutes across the sessions. Car 96, Porsche being pushed very hard towards the end of the session. That's Mark Vollenwein, but he's down just outside the top 10. I think those top 2 cars ought to be safe. Famous last words.
Well, Detry's effort, 159.847, so that is 2nd fastest in the session, but it's still not quite good enough to give the 21 Audi of Haas RT a front row start. So it's going to be certainly no worse than 3rd position, because I can't see anybody else going quicker than Mathieu Detry. And you would have thought with those 2 cars ahead of him in the pit lane, then this is the real opportunity to close the gap by another 1/10 of a second to perhaps snatch 2nd fastest from Marco Mappelli et al. In the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan. But at this stage, Mathieu Detry only good enough for that 2nd fastest time in Q3, and he needs to find the best part of a 1/10 and a half to leapfrog Oliver Goethe, who is also now in the pit lane. So Ollie will actually finish the session, it looks like, as the fastest driver, but unfortunately for him, on the fastest times, he's still way down in 22nd position. They'll probably be happy with that, though, collectively, because they know, Ollie and Benjamin will know that there's some good speed in that number 88 Dragon Racing Ferrari 296.
Yeah, and for Dragon Racing, late entries, if you will, for the Asian Le Mans Series. They didn't do the opening round at Sepang, but for the 2 races in the Middle East, they will be having their 296 out in the action. So they're not just working for this weekend, they're working for a meeting coming up at the start of February. So almost all the cars have now reported in after that checkered flag, and it does look as though it's safe. The provisional pole in the hands of the number 18 Santilot Audi crew, the black one with green flashes, with the steering that's not working as it ought, but good clean sessions, it must be said.
The Easterlent Racing Team should not be overlooked either, because Christopher Haase in the number 54 car is always very quick in whatever he pedals. There are actually 2 pros in that, the certain Marcus Winkelhock, the other one. You've got Gilles Magnus of Belgium as the semi-pro, Simon Riker also an SP, and Mike Zhu is the AM. So 54 crew, fast in that session at 3rd, and collectively the 54 car is 6th fastest on the average times. So qualifying 3, done and dusted. Qualifying full stop is finished. And high time we got some reaction from the Dubai pit lane then on this final qualifying session.
I think you've just seen the reaction there. We've got a slightly happier Pierre Caffer now, just being congratulated by Elia Earhart. You're happier because you just got pole position. As you waited there, you were doing the thumbs up, thumbs down bit. But mixed emotions for you. So pole position, great, but a lack of steering. That's not ideal, as you said to me before we went on air.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I have to say, first of all, Sentilog Racing has done an awesome job with the car. I think we pointed the right point in the setup. The last days we worked quite a lot, and that it paid out so good in the qualifying thanks to Audi, which have a beautiful car and the rocket car. And yeah, unfortunately, this is one of the things. It's not many times happened to an Audi, but we had a problem in the car with the steering, so I just could drive one lap, and then I had to come back to the box. So I was thinking in the car, okay, it's over for the qualifying. But yeah, in the end, it's a great result, and thanks for the team and everyone who is part of this project.
Pierre, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. You can give me a longer answer if you wish, but when you say a problem with the steering so casually as a racing driver, in what sense? Did you know straight away, and what is the problem?
No, it was coming suddenly in the corner, so the steering is quite heavy, and you cannot drive the car then in a quick way. So the only thing is to come back to the pits.
So it kind of got your attention?
Yeah, it's quite a lot my attention, and I'm pretty sure we can fix that for tomorrow. And yeah, I'm happy for everyone who is, what I said, taking part of this project, and thanks to Creventic that they always have the passion and always do everything to make this race happen. And thanks also to the organization for all the awesome job.
As indeed do you, Pierre. Pole position, congratulations. I'm sure we'll get the steering sorted. We'll talk to you a lot more over the weekend. Thank you, Pierre.
Just thinking that through. Thank you, Snowy. Chatting to a much more engaging Pierre Caffer than perhaps.
Very long night. There is more darkness than light at this time of year by a small margin. In fact, maybe by going back 2 weeks, it's made it sort of equitable. But the drivers know they've got night practice to go, starting very soon indeed. But a good, clean qualifying session and pole for Pierre Caffer at the very end.
Before the race start tomorrow, there is night practice, though, bear in mind. We're live on air at 7:10. That is for a 15 minutes past 7 start. And important to get night practice laps in, not only from a qualifying perspective, but also just to work out where those distracting lights of the city of Dubai in the background are through what is going to be, once again, a very long night in the 19th edition of the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai. We will have all of that session, of course, covered here live on the Radio Show Limited network of channels. My thanks to Diana Binks a little earlier on, to Phil Anson and to Andrew Marriott, and for this session to Peter Snowden in the pits, Bruce Jones to my right. I've been Johnny Palmer. Join us later on the Radio Show Limited network of channels for full coverage of night practice from here in Dubai.